Welcome back to the Great Satanic Chronicles. When we left off, we were going into trial. I forgot to put the hashtag on the tweet. Whatever. Nevertheless, we are going into the trial with Van Zieks as our defendant. There's not going to be a jury, surprisingly. Oh, it's taken a while to load. Hopefully this isn't going to be too... oh, there we go. So, Van Zieks is our defendant. Sadly, Gregson is the victim. And... who knows who the culprit is? Alright.
In her name and of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session. We are here to conduct the fair and just trial of the defendant, Barak Van Zieks. Counsels for defense and prosecution, are you ready to begin?
The defense is ready, my lord. The prosecution is more than ready.
Oh, Kazuma-sama.
We gotta fight against Kazuma. I've been wishing to see you again in court for so long, it feels... But I never pictured it happening like this. Sometimes I just can't pronounce sentences properly. I never thought I'd be facing you behind the prosecution's bench.
The so-called Reaper of the Bailey has been like a scourge like no other, undermining Her Majesty's justice system. Today, we must uncover the truth behind this scourge.
In other words, this trial is going to be a lot more far-reaching than Inspector Gregson's murder.
The truth revealed by these proceedings may have unpredictable repercussions for the judiciary. Accordingly, they are to be conducted as a closed... They are supposed to be conducted as a closed trial, with no members of the public present, by Her Majesty's direct orders.
How will that work, my lord?
The burden of all arbitration and adjudication falls on my shoulders. Therefore, as you will see, the juror's bench will remain vacant today. If no members of the public are present, might I ask who is currently occupying the gallery, my lord? There are members of the judiciary here to witness the proceedings and ensure that an equitable trial. Equitable trial. Yeah.
Members of the judiciary?
Oh my, this is a very unusual trial already. There is, of course, another unprecedented aspect to these proceedings, on which I must elaborate. The counsels for prosecution and the defense are both aliens of Great Britain.
Where to fucking... God damn it, dude. Really? You really have to say alien? Couldn't you just say not from Great Britain? God damn it, dude. You were doing so well not being racist. I believe it takes an outsider to see the truth sometimes. And as I stand here in this courtroom now, I'm quite certain. This is the reason why I had to come to Great Britain. Kazuma?
Very well, let us commence proceedings. Prosecutor Asagi, your opening statement, if you please.
Certainly, my lord. The incident took place on the 1st of November at just after 5 o'clock in the afternoon. The location was a building of flats on Fresno Street, on the outskirts of the city. The victim's body was discovered there, in an old single-room rental property.
Yes, Inspector Tobias Gregson. A name known very well indeed in this court. Not least for his miraculous resolution of one of the country's grimmest cases 10 years ago. The professor's case. It's strange that we're all hearing about this consistently now instead of before.
I mean, like, before the last game, even. How are you sure about the time of the incident? Several witnesses on the street outside heard the gunshot, and all have reported at the same time. Yes, that's what Gina told us too. There was a number of witnesses. Honestly, though, they heard a gunshot. Yeah. That doesn't really prove that he was dead because of that gunshot. So, keep that in mind. I have a plan of the room. The victim was found curled up on one corner. It's believed that he was shot from the point blank range and died immediately. Fuck. I'm messing this up. Give me time to get into it. I'm going to be screwing up so many of these lines.
How has the range been determined?
There were scorch marks around the entry wound. Such marks are caused by gunpowder used to fire the bullet. But powder hot enough to leave scorch marks is only ejected a few inches beyond the end of the barrel. In other words, it only happens when the target is at point-blank range.
Yeah, I see, yes. Thank you for the detailed explanation, Counsel.
Autopsy report has been added to the court record. Cool. Actually got quite a lot, don't we? I don't even know if I actually looked at the candelabra. No, I didn't, see? Ah! There's some black marks here. Look! Yes, they are some sort of scorch marks. So perhaps the bullet struck the candle here, do you think? It's only this one candle that's been cracked in half, it seems.
Yes, I think you might be right. Firearms are rarely used by criminals in Japan, so I'm afraid I'm not particularly knowledgeable about them.
Okay. Why was that candle... I mean, I suppose the biggest thing to remember from this candelabra is that two of the candles are melted further down than this one, meaning that the gunshot went off and then there was time enough for these candles to melt. It's good to keep that in mind. Although that's very visual, not like, not displayed here in the information, so I don't know. Inspector Grigson's autopsy report stating the death was instant, resulting from a bullet shot at close range. Tobias Gregson, male, 45, British, time of death. Thanks for not putting it on the same page. Maria Gorey. Good, cool. Why do I have a feeling that's going to be the little girl that we saw who wanted to cut us open? Victim was shot in the chest at close range from the front, resulting in instant death. Scorch marks at the point of entry. The bullet exited the body from behind. Huh. Additional observations. The caliber of the gun matches the standard issue firearm of the members of the Judiciary. Well, and the murder weapon was found lying beside the victim.
And have you managed to ascertain the owner of this firearm?
No, my lord. Not conclusively.
Bravo, Kazuma-sama. We're not trying to use the gun as evidence when its provenance cannot be proven.
Furthermore, my lord, as I've explained, the revolver was fired at extremely close range. The bullet passed through the victim and struck the wall behind him. There's a candelabrum. God, why does seeing the word suddenly make it impossible to read? Mounted on the wall. The tip of one of the candles in it was found to have been blown off by the projectile.
We noticed that too, didn't we?
Yes, that's right.
Thank you for the thorough report, Counsel. The setting of the crime is clear to me. You will submit the plans of the scene of the crime as evidence, please.
As you wish, my lord. It took all day making that, but sure, just let everyone see it. Let's take a closer look at that. So, the only thing that's worth looking at is over here. Gregson was over at the other corner. Is it possibly he was shot through the wall? And he went through his... Well, no. The scotch marks clearly meant something there. The gun had to be in the same room, so...
Is this Fresno Street room at Inspector Gregson's private abode?
No, my lord. The room is rented to a high Hugh Boone. A Hugh Boone. I don't know why I said high. But there is little furniture inside, and it's genuinely a poor state of affairs. And it is in a general poor state. So what on earth was Gregson even doing there?
Presumably he was investigating some case or other.
When a policeman was informed of the gunshots from the witnesses, he rushed to the scene. He found only the deceased inspector and the accused standing alongside, holding the revolver. The attending officer arrested the accused on the spot.
So, the details of the case are clear. You know, it's going to be very annoying if Van Zieks just says, I just picked up the revolver to look at it or something, because the amount of times that's happened in this entire series, and the amount of times that's caused them to be considered the main suspect, is kind of annoying. You'd think that someone who deals with this kind of crap, who actually sits in court and presents this kind of evidence, would know not to do that.
In that case, the prosecution would like to call its first witness.
A name, please, counsel.
Naturally. The accused himself. Lord Van Zieks? As a prosecutor, he believes in the oath of the office he's taken, and will be compelled to tell the truth.
Very well. The defendant will take the stand.
You know what? Kazuma's actually is being a decent prosecutor that isn't just super smarmy right now, but I'm sure that will change. So, witness, state your name and occupation for the court.
Mark Van Zieks, Old Bailey prosecutor.
I presume, Lord Van Zieks, that you've heard the prosecutor Asogi's opening precis?
I did.
It is alleged that you were found at the scene of the crime, and that you were arrested by the arriving police officer. Can you confirm this?
Yes, my lord.
Then I'm sure the court will like to hear you explain some things away. Namely, why you were there in the room on Fresno Street at the time in question, and what exactly took place.
I intend to explain away nothing. I will simply tell the truth.
I must say, Lord Van Zieks, I never imagined this day would come.
That's actually a good little bit of Van Zieks really just caught onto like the slight wordplay there that implicated that Van Zieks was going to be lying or telling a story, and he was just like, no, I'm going to tell the truth. Don't try to twist this sneakily.
I never imagined this day would come. Or rather, I didn't want to imagine it would come. But since you became known as the Reaper, a part of me has been dreading it. Your formal testimony, then, witness.
Ba 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 ba. The facts of the incident.
I was investigating Gregson. My inquiries had led me to that address. When I first entered the room that day, it was dark inside and I saw no one. A moment later, I heard a gunshot. I spun around and saw the revolver on the floor. Just as I picked up the firearm to examine it, the door flew open and I heard a man scream. It is only then when the body of Inspector Gregson appeared before me.
Oh, that's an interesting set of events. It is very, like, weird. Is that testimony the whole truth?
It was.
Seriously though, could you had a gun go off, and the first indignation that you have is, let me go pick up that gun that just went off. Someone just screams and gets stabbed. Oh, let me pick up the bloody knife on the floor. Yeah, I need to have a closer look at it. Fucking, you are a prosecutor, dude. You've done this. You've made these cases before. How could you not know that this is a bad thing to do?
It was.
So, you heard the gunshot being fired in the room with no living occupants. And moments later, a corpse somehow appeared before your eyes. Is that it? You're right. You haven't explained away anything. In fact, that would barely qualify as an excuse.
I thought you were my mute apprentice. Yet it turns out that you have a way with words. Executor Soggy.
It would appear to be singular tale indeed.
Singular isn't the word. It's laughable. What's gotten into Kazuma? He's not behaving like himself at all. He's a prosecutor. He's against you. Stop being like, oh, he's my friend, but he's not acting like it anymore. Well, why is that the be? I mean, I get it. They have to have him act like this as like the friend, but god damn it. I just wish this kind of stuff just blew over quickly. We're going against each other in court. That is all you need to say. And then just, like, move on. Please.
Very well, then. Counsel, you may begin your cross-examination.
Yes, my lord. Great. I wonder what I'm gonna undercome here. Okay. Facts of the incident.
I was investigating Gregson and my inquiries had led me to that address.
I do think that if I presented evidence to him right now and got it wrong, there probably would be a funny, humorous thing. Him being like,
that evidence means nothing. Give him a penalty.
I'm not gonna do it though. I don't want to lose my 5 big old shinies up here.
Hold it!
Hold it! You were investigating the inspector? What on earth for?
I am not at liberty to say.
Sorry?
I'd identified a distinct possibility that Gregson was involved in a case I was investigating. Regrettably, though, he was killed before I could secure the proof I needed.
Is the court to understand that on that day in question you followed the victim to the scene?
No, I was privy to his movements in advance.
How?
I stole into his office in the yard and consulted his diary. The address on Fresno Street was noted in the 5 p.m. entry.
You illegally entered a man's office? In Japan, that alone would constitute a very serious offense.
As it does in Great Britain, I assure you. Is that not the case, Lord Van Zeeks?
I was aware of the possible consequences.
So in summary, you were investigating the victim, and yet, you refused to tell the court why. I didn't realize British prosecutors enjoyed such freedom to choose what to divulge under oath. Why did I ever think I could defend this man?
When I first entered the room that day, it was dark inside and I saw no one.
Had you ever been to the address before?
No, never. I only learned of that place as a result of my investigations into Gregson's activities. There was no light inside when I entered, so that's all but impossible to make out anything.
But at 5 p.m., the sun would have only gone out. Would have only just have gone down. It would have been reasonably light outside. It would have still have been reasonably light outside.
The room has a window, but it had been boarded shut.
Honestly, I'm just gonna point out right now. If the freaking forensics person is lying again, I'm going to fucking lose my mind. I'm just gonna say that right fucking now. I have a weird feeling that that might be what happens. And holy fuck, would it piss me off. Anyway.
Very little light has found its way into the room from outside, so it is very musky inside. I'd have noticed if the victim was already lying on the floor.
There was no artificial light in the room, you say? You're quite sure?
I'm quite sure that a part of the room where the body was found was very dark. I have a feeling there was a small oil lamp burning on the desk, though I couldn't say for certain.
Look, Mr. Naruhodo.
Yes, I've seen it before.
There's a small desk in the room just there.
Yes, I remember, and there's an oil lamp on it, as well as the framed photograph.
When I entered the room, I closed the door behind me and started towards the desk to investigate.
I hate when people say I started towards the desk or something like that. That's essentially saying I went towards the desk or walked towards. But I had to be super fucking up my own ass about saying that. And what did you find?
Nothing. I never actually reached the desk.
A moment later, I heard the gunshot, spun around, and saw the revolver on the floor. So, who fired the gun?
I have no idea. I didn't see anybody else in that room.
But you say it was very dark in there.
Yes, that's right. All I can tell you is that I didn't sense another presence.
Ah, then could it be? The gunshot actually originated from somewhere outside the room?
No, that's out of the question.
Oh?
Without a doubt, the sound emanated from inside the room. I could smell the gunpowder.
Ah! This is going to be bad. Going bad to worse. And you said that's the point in which you noticed the revolver on the floor.
Correct. And I foolishly picked it up. That was carelessness on my part.
Presumably, then, the gunshot you heard came from the firearm that you had somewhat hastily took into your hands?
In point of fact, my lord, I believe it was not.
What?
The barrel of the revolver I picked up was cold, and there was no smell of gunpowder. Or scent of gunpowder.
Then where on earth is the gun that was fired? That was fired?
Whilst I would like to oblige you with that answer, I'm afraid I can't. I, too, would dearly like to know that.
Ugh. As I picked up the firearm to examine it, the door flew open and I heard a man scream. A man, you say? One of the witnesses, I presume? That's right. One of the street merchants working at Fresno Street.
Who are the merchants?
A number of them have set up their stalls directly beneath the boarded window of the crime scene. A match seller, a newsmonger, and a peddler. They're all given statements saying that they heard the gunshot. Jesus, why is this happening to me? And without the thought of danger, they ran inside to see what had happened.
Yes, Gina told us about that yesterday, didn't she?
They burst through the door with some force, it would seem.
They did? It almost gave me a heart attack in the process.
But you're supposed to be the Reaper.
The first man to come in immediately took notice of the revolver in my hands and fled.
The policeman patrolling on Fresno Street heard the commotion, and now he was able to arrest the accused shortly after the incident occurred.
Anyway, the man's scream drew my attention in that direction. It was only then that the body of Inspector Gregson appeared before me.
What do you mean by that? In what way did the body appear? Ah.
I honestly can't explain it, but it's the truth. As far as I was concerned, the body hadn't been there until that point, and then suddenly, there it was.
Did you perhaps heard the sound of the victim falling to the ground just beforehand?
At the moment, what I heard was the sound of the door flying open and the scream of one man who came inside first. Nothing more.
I see.
After the man fled, I examined the body. I was stunned to find that it was Gregson.
Most curious circumstances indeed.
How the inspector was killed, or how the body seems to be appeared out of nowhere, I have no idea.
Objection!
Surely the court has heard enough. My lord, the cross-examination is clearly revealed that the accused, Barak van Zieks, is lying on multiple fronts. What? What is that supposed to mean? It means exactly what I fucking said, you idiot.
Good gracious, counsels. The defendant is lying, you say?
His testimony just now. He claims to have failed to notice the victim's body because the room was dark.
That's correct.
No, that's impossible. This freaking Kazuma freaking music. Holy shit. As proven by this candelabrum.
How does that prove anything?
He saw what I saw, yeah. If you examine the tip of the long candle, you see that it has been blown off by a powerful impact.
One would assume that to be the projectile from the firearm passed through the victim and struck the candle.
The problem comes when you consider the other two candles, which are clearly of different length. I don't know if gunpowder ban continues through one person and onto something else. Wouldn't the gun have shot the candle first and then shot Gregson at a later time? Which is a clearly different length.
Yes, I can see that only the candle that appears to have been struck by the candle is... the bullet is long.
You could reasonably expect someone to have lit all three candles together, which begs the question of why was only one candle... Only one had ended up longer than the others. That must be because a particular candle was extinguished before the others were... when the others were still burning. That's right. When the candle was hit by the bullet, it obviously went out. But the other two candles would have still been burning. So in fact, the fact is... the victim's body would have been illuminated by the light still thrown by the candelabrum. And the accused's claim that he can see the body clearly contradicts those facts. And now to the next lie. There's more? Oh! The accused also claims to have never visited the scene of the crime before.
That's the truth.
In that almost empty room, the police discovered something very unusual. A board covered from top to bottom of the police documents and newspaper cuttings.
Yes, that's right. We saw that too.
It goes without saying that the contents of the police documents cannot be divulged. However, they include a number of reports from various historical cases. The oldest of which was from 10 years ago. 10 years ago. This is when he started... This is starting to sound familiar. There's a common thread linking all of these documents on the board.
Indeed. What is the common thread, Council?
They're all related to cases prosecuted in court by Baruch van Zeeks. That fucking face, Jesus Christ. All of them? All of them! And furthermore, all those cases are ones in which the defendant was acquitted.
Good lord!
Interestingly, none of those defendants are alive today. Because all of them was sent to their graves by the Reaper.
Oh! Oh no!
Oh yes! In short, that dingy little room is the Reaper's secret hideout and his base of operations. That's not proof. That board having all of his cases is not proof. Sorry. The Reaper's hideout. And yet the Reaper would claim never to have been to his own secret hideout. No one would believe that. No, the truth is we've been looking at it backwards.
But backwards? Explain, Council!
Inspector Gregson was investigating the identity of the Reaper. When he discovered the location of the man's secret hideout, he was killed. As I'm sure everyone can imagine, by the Reaper's hands.
Wah, 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 wah. Wah. Order! 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 Well, very well. I hereby state the current opinion of the court. Baruch van Zeeks is an outstanding prosecutor who has rendered great service to his country. However, it is with deep regret that I must concur with the prosecutor Asoghi's contention that the defendant's testimony exhibits a number of stark inconsistencies with the known facts.
All I've done is state the truth as I know it.
Seriously though, just because that board has all of the cases of Baruch van Zeeks and all of the people that eventually ended up dying beyond being, even though they were acquitted, that doesn't mean that it's Baruch who's got those cases together. I'm sorry, it just doesn't. Kazuma's done a brilliant job as ever. He's drawing on his experience as a defense attorney to build his prosecution's case, and it's formidable. He really is taking the Edgeworth stance, isn't he?
Counsel, you will submit the board that you have just shown to the court as evidence. I believe it is fundamental in establishing the facts surrounding the Reaper's existence.
Thank you, my lord. Okay. And now the prosecution would like to call new witnesses to the stand. Take a quick look-see at that. The handprint.
Oh? What's this? Mr. Naruhodo, look!
Oh yes, there's a smudge of some kind. In fact, it looks like a handprint.
And the color? That's blood, isn't it? Oh dear, how disturbing.
Bloody handprint on the backside.
There are details of the whole raft of cases dating back years on here, aren't there?
The papers from 10 years ago is browning with age. Look.
Out of interest, the most recent thing appears to be this newspaper cutting here.
Oh, it's the same Red-Headed League advertisement that Mr. Sholmes has picked out.
And do you remember? There was a red hairpiece at the scene too.
Was Inspector Gregson an exponent of the Red-Headed League then? Well. And now the prosecution would like to call new witnesses to the stand. The witnesses who saw the events unfold that day in question, on the day in question.
They were mentioned in the previous testimony too, if you remember.
Yes, the street sellers who heard the gunshot and went running to the room. Aren't they supposed to be in custody? Because I'm sure it's going to be the red guys. Okay, let's go.
Very well, lead the new witnesses in. The defendant may step down from the witness stand.
Thank you for being dicks.
Not, that's what he said. Okay, Beppa! Really? So, witnesses, state your names and occupations for the court. Oh my god, stop with the lips. This girl's fucking adorable, but she's probably going to be a monster.
Names? We don't use names. Far too busy. Far too fancy for the likes of us.
We're just free and easy. Sell what we like. Live where we want to live.
I give all a smake and stare as they walk down Fresno and spin a few words to a verse for them.
Would it be right in assuming all three of you have made your living selling wares on the street?
Meh. Everyone calls me the gossip. I sell jaunty little tidbits to the passenger boys, you know.
Johnny little tidbits.
I got an absolute smasher for you, sir. Right up your ginnel it is. 6 pence is the price, and not a penny less.
Wait, you're actually trying to sell it to me now?
Oh, come on, sir. Don't tell me you're not interested.
Try the man.
Give him the money and see what it is.
Pay the mountain council.
Extortion, please. Extortion charge. Alright, 6 pence it is.
You won't regret it, sir. Now listen. Now you got your listening ears on. Just between us, a young couple on State Street have just had twins.
Is that it?
No, that's not it. Hey, stop, Sip, isn't it? I just wanted to. It wants to spread, just like my horrible lips condition. Is this a cold sore, a boil, or is it herpes? You can tell which one it probably is. Well, yes, up to you. That bit's up to you in your mouth, of course. I've got more. You know, you want a juicy one? 6 pence a piece if you're curious.
I am curious, yes, about what's going on just under that fat bottom lip of yours. Namely, the unusual bruise or whatever it is that's poking out from under your collar. And what about the next witness then, What next? What names do you go by and what do you sell?
Me? I'm Venus. That's what everyone calls me. Funny, isn't it? I sell these lovely little fireworks to the local school kids.
Oh my goodness.
6 pence a pop. What do you say?
She lit that match off her ass. Bruh. Holy fuck. I'm in love. Already. God damn it. You weren't exaggerating with that, the little. Do they actually sell?
Oh yeah? The second years can't get enough of the Venus firecrackers. Especially when I tell them that I've got... Especially if I tell them that if they get 100, they could blow up the whole school. Not the most savoury of ideas, young lady. What do you say then, eh? Want to part with 6 pence for a pop?
Wait, what? You want me to buy one?
Tell you what, I'll even let you in on a secret. If you get 100 of them, you can blow up the whole courtroom.
Try the woman.
Give her the money and see if she's right.
Pay the woman council.
Alright, I'm totally peer pressured into it.
Lovely stuff. Right then, this is something a little extra. A bit extra, just for you. A Venus special. Only 600 a pins. 600? It's 100 of my regular fireworks. Nothing little about that, is there?
And there'll be nothing little about the punishment if I blew up the Old Bailey either. Well, we got firecrackers, huh? Wonderful. Take a little closer look at them. There's the fuse. It's very short.
Have you had an idea, Mr. Naruhodo? You're staring at the end of that string of fireworks.
Sorry, it's just that the Venus special. I was wondering what 6 pence worth of fireworks could sound like. Would sound like.
Shall we find out?
What? But she said it could blow up the courtroom. Alright. That was a fairly sizable bang.
My ears are still ringing, Mr. Naruhodo. It sounded almost exactly like
a gunshot. Yep, I already know. Anything else to him? Alright. And the last witness, what name do you go by and what do you sell? I'm a thinking of all sorts of thoughts. I think, therefore I am. I am, therefore I think. Because I stand here on the wit streets watching the world go on without me, about me. They call me the Observer.
Get on with it, old bang. Everyone calls you Sandwich, and you know it.
So you don't actually sell anything?
A problem shared is a problem halved, as they say. I give advice, I do. And I think what it means. I don't actually sell anything, no, come to think of it.
Pity. No more purchases today, please.
Well, I have quite a cast here, it seems.
They conduct their business on Fresno Street from the morning until night, my lord. They always in the same place, directly adjacent to the crime scene.
I see. And thus they heard the gunshot, I suppose.
Not only that, they bravely ran inside to see what was going on and witness the crime. Is he actually named Sandwich? Oh, great. Wonderful. Gossip, Venus, and Sandwich. It's Bepper, goddammit. Can't do this to me. They ran bravely inside to see what was going on and witness the crime.
Well, if I'll be a beggared if I thought. I'll be beggared, I thought. Just between us. Venus di Milo. What am I to do? What a terrible thing I saw.
What I think is if all I want to see is light and shadow prying with our eyes, is that it?
Very well. The court will hear the formal testimony of these 3 witnesses now. You will describe in detail what you witnessed and what you heard at the time of this incident.
Okay, here we go. Witness's account.
We saw the whole thing from start to finish, we did. Everything from the moment they went into the building. It was no less than a minute after the Reaper had gone inside that we all heard a big bang.
Seems to me that quick to talk and quick to walk. Gossip couldn't wait to go and see what happened.
I ran into the room, and there was the Reaper with a gun in his hand, standing over the dead body. I was scared half to death, me. So I ran off to find the copper.
God, these ne'er-do-wells. If these witnesses were there the whole day and saw everything, who did they see going inside the building? Only the victim, Inspector Gregson, and the accused, Baron von Zeeks.
I've seen a picture of the Reaper in the paper. I know what he looks like. And just between us, folks love stories like this. I've made myself a tidy sum of them already.
But wait, the room was just one of several flats in the building. One of the several flats in the building. Someone from the other flats could have come in. All those flats on Fresno Street are unoccupied.
Of course they are. They're small, damp and dirty, and expensive to boot.
The rooms in which the inspector was found in is only property in the building that's currently leased.
And as we know that the landholder's name, don't we? It's Hugh Bone. Hugh Boone. Ugh. The testimony the court has just heard would appear to leave little room for doubt. It's becoming increasingly difficult to see how anyone other than the defendant could have committed the crime.
Oh, no! Thank you for your candor, my lord. Seriously, Naruhodo, just keep your cool and be like, okay, let's do the cross-examination then. I know that we're supposed to be like, if Naruhodo was my lawyer, I'd be able to get all of any situation. He would constantly make you think that you were about to lose everything all the time, because he has absolutely no composure.
Counsel for defense, you may proceed with your cross-examination of the witness.
Yes, my lord! Oh god, I'm gonna lose, aren't I? In a close court like this, without a jury, the judge is the only person whose opinion matters. I have to break down the testimony. Somehow. Here we go. The witness's account.
We saw the whole thing from start to finish, we did. We saw everything from the moment they entered the building.
When do you say they? Who do you mean exactly? Inspector Gregson and the defendant, Lord Van Zeeks?
I suppose so. The likes of us don't know the names of the high and mighty. But I'll tell you one thing. It was the old Reaper that went in last, that's for certain.
Just behind Inspector Gregson. Did they arrive at the same time as each other?
No, not all. The old fellow must have gone inside a good 15 minutes before he heard the gunshot.
The victim arrived 15 minutes before? Are you sure about that?
Am I sure? Am I sure? Does it seem likely that I've forgotten a fella with a bright red hair like that, does it? Yeah. His hair really was red, weren't it? Redder than the flaming fireworks, even.
That fiery red mop is burnt on the inside of my eyelids, it is. Wait a minute, you're saying the man was a redhead?
Were you listening, chum? I was a redhead. He was a big chunk with him as well.
And Inspector Gregson's hair isn't red, not by any stretch of the imagination. Seems likely that the person you saw wasn't, in fact, Inspector Gregson at all, but some other third party. Don't try that shit. I hate to bring it to you, but the witnesses are correct. Oh, how do you... What? Where did you come from that conclusion? What? A red wig? I can't remember when that was there. Just look at this photograph the victim took at the scene of the crime. Of the victim at the scene of crime. Oh, Gregson, my boy. He actually has a chin. I didn't even know he had one. Oh. I'm guessing that's gonna be added. Yes, that's Inspector Gregson, all right. And a red hairpiece. Ah! Of course! The one we saw on the floor when we investigated the scene, didn't we? I still refuse that Inspector Gregson wore the hairpiece, though. So then why on earth would he have been wearing it? Something like that.
Yeah, the colour does seem to suit the man, one might say. But the photograph will be submitted as evidence, please, Counsel.
See, that's the thing about this game. They have a weird tendency to have Naruhodo be absolutely dumb and oblivious to the most basic of logic lines, right? Why not just have Kazuma explain, by the way, for the court record, Inspector Gregson was in fact wearing a red wig. Why do you have to have Naruhodo say, what, red hair? That must mean that it was someone else. Why do you have to have him act like a fucking idiot? I'm sorry, it's just, that really irks me at times. When it could be written so much better and not have the characters suffer from sounding like a complete and utter idiot most of the time, in fact. Because I don't find it funny. I don't think anybody finds that funny. I think that everyone finds it fucking annoying and it just kind of wastes time. Anyway, the photograph of the victim is added to the court record. And what's become of the trunk that the red-headed victim was supposedly carrying? I was informed that no trunk was found at the scene. So it's disappeared. Wonderful. I guess that means that there was a third party. Well, no, we're not going to use that, I guess.
What do you expect us to have been watching the building every second, do you? We definitely saw him going. We definitely saw him in the dock and going in. Though no question about that. It was just a minute, then the Reaper had gone inside and we heard that big bang.
By which presumably you mean the gunshot.
I sell these little things, don't I? How do I know?
Oh my goodness, she keeps doing it. Oof.
How do I know? How would I know what a gunshot sounds like? I've always thought it sounds a bit like this, doesn't it?
And you say you heard the noise almost as soon as you saw the defendant enter the building.
That's right. It was almost straight away. Bang! It went just like that. Well, he's a Reaper, isn't he? And what the French call frat accompli. When the Reaper's around, people go into the ground. I mean, that's what he does, isn't it?
I think we get the message. The Reaper couldn't allow the inspector to live after he'd been discovered in his secret hideout. There can be no clearer motive for the crime.
Yes. It is certainly eminently credible motive. An eminently credible motive.
Great! And at that point you ran inside, is that correct?
It seems to me that the quicker to talk is quick to walk. Gossip couldn't wait to go see what had happened.
So when Gossip ran to see what had happened, did you go too?
Well, me, I'm a bit of Bradford, you see. All of the signs that I couldn't move very well.
You were way behind, presumably, with that sandwich board around your neck and that big sign on your hand. What a great burden you bear. Pardon me for asking, Mr. Sandwich, but is it possible that you and I have met before?
I'm not nobody, but the signs are what make me who I am now. A sign, therefore I am.
So you weren't employed as an omnibus driver just a year ago, then? Under a year ago.
I might be mistaken, but I believe he's trembling as testified, Mr. Naruhodo.
Yes, I agree. He's clearly been through a lot.
Turn down King Henry Street and the Black Widower's Arms is just there.
Oh dear, you made him hide behind his sign. How awful of you, Mr. Naruhodo.
Life is full of surprises.
I ran into the room and there he was, the Reaper, gun in hand, standing over the dead body.
Oh, didn't mean to... Right. So then you were the first person to arrive on the scene, is that right?
That's what I was. Kicked the door open like a professional, I did. And then yelled out, "What's going on here?"
Lord Venzeeks claimed that all he heard was a man scream, though. And it was dark inside the room.
No, not dark at all. There were candles burning on the wall.
Really?
There was a fella collapsed on the floor. Just between us, the first thing I noticed, the night when I got inside.
Ah, I see. Even though Lord Venzeeks claims not to have seen any of such lights on the wall.
Next thing I noticed, there was someone standing beside the body.
The accused, Berk von Zeeks.
That's right, the pale-faced Reaper himself. Was a little shocked, I won't deny it, but then I'm no living little coward. Stood my ground and gave the Reaper a cold hard stare myself.
Excuse me.
Excuse me!
Do you have something to add, Mr. Sandwich?
Yes, that's really nothing to me. Empty in the head I am. Just 2 slices with no middle. So I don't know what you want from me.
I think maybe you just remembered something. Hearing Gossip's last statement, I mean.
What I think is we're all nothings, really. Just trying to dress ourselves up as something else. But at the end of the day, we're just street sellers.
Ain't that? That's enough out of you, Sandwich. Keep your trap shut now. Unless you want us to make you into a real sandwich.
When we saw the Reaper, he fell clean over on his backside.
That's it?
Oh, you rotten beggar. I told you to keep it secret.
He screamed, he did. Screamed and scrambled off on all fours. That's all I wanted to say.
Mr. Gossip, is that true?
Your floor was dead slippery, that's why. Planted in my hand is a filthy old pool of blood. It was, didn't I? Yuck.
What? A pool of blood?
But listen here, even though I was sprawled over on the floor, I kept giving the Reaper a cold hard stare, and don't you forget it.
Go back a little. Did you say you got blood on your hand?
I did, it happens to the best of us, doesn't it? I was so scared I slipped over. But we keep that between us then, can't we?
No, Mr. Gossip. I'm going to have to ask you to add that information to your formal testimony.
Oh, if I might.
The witness will amend
his testimony to conclude the aforementioned details at once.
Oh, he's going to go down that road. La-dee-da. So I'm going to have to present the actual scene itself. The crime scene. To show that the dead body was super far away.
Objection.
Apparently no. Even though that seems like it would make sense. Hey, the crime scene was way far away from where you were. But I suppose maybe it's supposed to be the notice board. Come on, guys. Really? That's such a leap. I'm sorry, but the problem there is that there's blood near the doorway of all places. For this timeline of things, the body couldn't have been moved. So that blood shouldn't have been there, right? So why are we bringing up the notice board handprint? I believe that should have been brought up in a different situation. Like, oh, they didn't touch anything. They didn't stick around or do anything. Come on now. God damn it. So you wiped the blood off your hand on the floor of the room? Really? Okay, I guess. There's so many problems with this part, but you have to pick the most unnecessarily, like, stupid one. Really? Just, nah. Are you quite sure about that?
Yeah, well, what do you expect me to have done? Does it really matter?
The police found no such handprint on the floor during their investigations. What exactly is the defense asserting? If you listen, you'll find out, Prosecutor Asagi. Fucking up my what, you fucking douche? Clearly there was no bloody handprint to be found on the floor. What are you trying to say? There was a handprint of blood left very clearly at the scene. On the back of this notice board.
Yes, indeed. Indubitably a handprint in the decisive color of blood. Aye, you're dead right. That's me right hand. I know it anywhere.
Hot actual hero. The witnesses definitely testified that he wiped his hand on the floor. Any handprints on the back of the board are irrelevant. Bro. Not if the board itself had fallen over onto the floor. In that case, it's quite possible that the witness's handprint has ended up there. What the fuck does this have to do with anything? I feel like every other case, I followed the logic of the main character. I followed the line of understanding from the start of the case to the end. This is already jumping off to some weird fucking logic land. Jesus Christ. In that case, it's quite possible that the witness's handprint could have ended up there. Just look at the floor plan of the room. It's not possible, though. The handprint shouldn't have shown up there. How do you prove that it did? The handprint is on the goddamn board. Oh, can you prove that that's a real handprint? This is already pissing me off. God damn it. Alright, I'm moving on. Notice that the notice board was on the opposite side of the room to the victim and in an upright position. Even if it had been somehow toppled over from and was lying on the top of at the time, it would have been a considerable distance from the body. I stated this goddamn fact! The body was super far away from the entranceway. They stated they came into the room. They would have been, at the most, here. Maybe even here. This is where the body is. Why did that... Oh, you are pissing me off, game. This is happening way too early. You know... Also, something I have noticed, the door opens in this direction, so if the Baron Van Zieks came in, opened the door, he wouldn't have seen the body or the light.
I fell over when I came across the body. So I was basically right next to the corpse, not on the other side of the room.
In other words, the defense's assertions is contradictory. But fucking bruh, I have literal... like in-your-face evidence, practical, right in front of you evidence. How can you say it doesn't exist? Whatever, yeah, it is. Oh. There's a very definite contradiction here, for which there must be a reason.
I take it that you formulated the proper hypothesis, Counsel.
No, that's not my job. I'm here to point out the fact that the witnesses are clearly not telling the absolute truth here. There's clearly something else going on. And honestly, it's your job to find out what it is, because it clearly shows that there's more to this case than just Baron Van Ziek's killing a dude and then getting caught for it.
Regarding the apparent discrepancy between the witness's account and the handprint found at the scene.
I have, my lord. The disparity between the witness's count and the location of the handprint are explained by the board moving another handprint. This game can be fucking anything at this point, can't it? It really could be any of these, I'll be honest with you.
There was another handprint. There was a false testimony. The board was moving.
Yeah, the board moving is the most likely, I think. The real contradiction here is the handprint itself, not where it was found. As the court can see, it's upside down.
Good gracious, so it is. If the witness had put his hand against the board, the fingers would have been pointing upward.
What does that tell us? It tells us one simple fact. When the handprint was made, the board must have been lying on the floor as previously suggested. Which means that after the incident, it must have been moved. What?
Objection!
You're claiming that somebody moved the notice board after the shooting. Then tell the court who. Bro, what? Why do I have to do that? Just because I've claimed that the board's moved doesn't mean I have to prove who the person is that moved it. I don't know who that is yet, but the point is, when you consider all the testimonies we've heard of so far, we can now be very clear on one point.
And what would that be?
The position of the notice board at the time of the incident, my lord.
So, Counsel, I must ask you to clarify your assertion to the court.
Time of the incident, where do you maintain that notice board was simulated? This is fucking annoying. Because, let's be honest, it's anywhere near the body, right? It has to be near the body. But are they going to say, like, it was here? I'm going to present near the body. Or on the body, rather. It's right here, my lord.
Goodness.
No, I'm afraid I don't see your logic. Fuck you. Was it here?
Take that!
This is the only possible location.
Immediately adjacent to the doorway?
If the court would think back to the testimony given by the defendant earlier, he said that when he entered the room, it was dark, and he couldn't see a body.
By heck!
When the notice board had been there, the body would have been completely hidden from view, and the light from the candles would have been blocked by the room, making the room appear darker.
Objection!
But the accused also claims that the victim's body simply appeared before him.
That's true, or rather in precise words.
As I picked the firearm up to examine it, the door flew open and I heard a man scream. It was only then that the body of the Inspector Gregson appeared before me.
I don't know who was calling it a scream, but he was talking about me and no mistake. Because it was me that kicked open the door.
If you look again at the floor pan, consider that would happen if the door to the room was thrown open with force. That can't... The door struck the notice board, knocking it over, and making the victim's body visible.
Good gracious.
My client has told nothing but the truth. He simply described what he saw. Oh! God, that ass. Sorry.
Hey, order! Go to Horny Jail. Counsel, how has this not come to light before now?
After the incident, someone must have righted the board and moved it into the position where the police, myself, and my colleagues saw it when they investigated the room. When my colleagues saw it and investigated the room. Jesus.
Witness, what have you to say for yourself? What? Me, my lord?
You and your fellows were there at the scene before anybody else. It goes without saying that you must know something about the position of the notice board.
The witnesses in the stand will testify again. You will each explain exactly what you did upon arriving at the scene of the crime. Stop looking at over your glasses at me. I get the message.
Message of the moving board.
I don't know nothing about the new notice board. I just wiped my hand on it, that's all.
Oh my god, she keeps doing it. Holy shit.
Well, don't look at me. I haven't got a clue about it. I was doing business with some second years at the time.
I just don't know anything about anything. I'm just embarrassed. I'm just a sign at the crossroads of 5.
It was a rip, I bet. He got his face and screams bored. He got a face that screams bored.
I can't see how that changes anything anyway. The detective still died when we heard the gunshot.
So none of you can elaborate further.
Shaken by the crime they witnessed, they can only... And with only a light of a few candles and an oil lamp by which they can see... You can't expect the witnesses to have been able to give more precise account of what happened.
That's right, yeah. I don't pay to expect too much. It don't pay to expect too much.
It's man's endless quest for knowledge. That's what's destroying the world. That's what I think.
Do you really?
In any case, it's the testimony. As the testimony shows, even the notice board was moved by somebody following the incident. It makes no difference. When the gunshot rang out, the accused was the only person at the scene. In short, the only person who could have possibly committed this crime is Bark van Zeeks. None of the other wrangling over the notice board changes that simple fact.
Quite so, quite so. Does the defense still wish to cross-examine the witness despite the circumstances?
Most certainly, my lord.
Very well, you may proceed, counsel.
Cross-examination, cross-examination. Mystery of the moving board.
I don't know anything about the notice board. I just wipe my hands on it, that's all.
Hold it!
You admit that the notice board you wiped your bloody hand on, so you admit that it was the... Yeah.
Admit? What do we admit? It was plain as day for all to see, a smashing print on my right hand.
You wanted to hide that handprint. Perhaps you wanted to hide the handprint. So you righted the notice board and pushed it into the corner, did you?
No, imagine the weight of the great lump. Do I look like a powerful and well-nurtured man?
Well, did you see anybody else move the board?
Of got nerves of steel, I can tell you, but even I had my limits. There was a body on the floor in front of me, and that Grim Reaper standing over it. There was the precious little light inside in either. My bottom lip was all a quiver.
In other words, the witness is unable to give definite testimony to that point.
Yes, so it would seem.
Oh, God.
But don't look at me. I haven't got a clue about it. I've been doing business with second years all that time.
When you say you were doing business with them, you mean you were selling them fireworks?
Yeah, what else? There's the Priory School just around the corner, see? Those cheeky little so-and-sos have a plan to blow up the school to Kingdom Come. Ah. So I've been telling them, letting the teachers know what they're up to.
Oh, you have?
Yeah, wouldn't want anyone to get hurt. So I let the school know that what the kids were playing with dodgy toys. Then, praise the Lord, the teachers take all the fireworks off them, so they have to buy more from me. And then, praise the Lord again, the kids all come back to buy more. Everyone's happy, see?
What a racket.
Of course. And sometimes the teachers give me a little bonus to thank me for letting them know. It's a busy old life selling explosions.
Venus is a galefully goddess indeed. Guileful goddess indeed.
Well, telling Bear Fire.
Oh my God, she just threw a fucking oh my Jesus Christ, she threw fireworks.
Well, telling barefaced lies isn't really my kind of thing, really. I'm ever so good at it.
It's kind of my thing.
Excuse me.
Pepper, what the fuck are you keep doing this for? Something wrong, Mr. Sandwich?
If I has to say, could I just leave it at that? Would that be the end of it?
No. Did Miss Venus's statement somehow bring something to mind, perhaps?
Philosophical thoughts. Deep philosophical thoughts. Let's just say that there was a great liar. And the great liar said, without batting an eye, telling barefaced lies is the kind of thing, my thing. I'm ever so good at it. Would those words of hers be a lie too? Or the truth, in which case she's not a liar? Oh, it is a hellish paradox, that one. Don't you think?
I'm not entirely sure, to be honest. But it seems to me that you're suggesting Miss Venus has been lying, are you? Oh.
Oh, what are you going on about, old man? Trying to cause trouble, are you? Keep it on like that. And I'll wrap your whole body in fireworks and set them off. That'll give you something good, something to tremble about.
Jesus Christ. I mean, it reminds me of that video where a dude straps a bunch of firecrackers to his body and just lights them all off. And he's like, there's like scorch marks all over his body. And then he looks at the camera, he's like, did you get that? It's the weirdest fucking video.
You have a startlingly disturbing mind behind that sweet and innocent face, young lady.
Dude, I completely didn't believe that she was even remotely innocent. So, Miss Venus has lied in her testimony. Is that what you're saying, Mr. Sandwich?
Well, if that means I'll be burning in hellfire for the rest of my days, so be it. Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Can you elaborate, please, sir?
Oh, blabbermouth here, ready for the room where the gunshot seemed to have come from. But there was someone who crept up on the stairs behind him, too. That's right. The rotten liar over there.
Why lie? Why lie indeed?
Do you mean to say that you did in fact betake yourself to the scene of the crime after all?
What did I tell you, eh? I said I was good at telling barefaced lies, didn't I?
Lady, seriously, you are running out of stock lighting all those fireworks. You are quite literally losing money every time you do that. Yes, you mentioned it. God, the amount of flashbangs. Like, I've got, like, my stream on this on another monitor, a very small window. I just keep getting, like, flashbanged by the changing of scenes.
Well, that revelation rocketed this hell courtroom, didn't it?
Who knew the firecrackers packed such a punch?
So you did indeed visit the scene of the crime, did you, young lady? Good grief.
Well, now it's nice you come to mention it. I suppose perhaps... I do clearly remember climbing the stairs to the room, yeah?
Either you clearly remembered it or you don't.
Well, I shall consider a fitting punishment for this prejudice act later. Perjurous act later. Perjury, yes. For the time being, you will be immediately amend your testimony to reflect the truth.
Oh, yes, my lord, of course. Maybe I did sneak her behind gossip and have a little peek into the room where it happened.
Is there a problem with that? I think I need to ask her a little more first. You make a habit of lying, don't you, Miss Venus?
Well, I suppose so. I don't really know, to be fair. If you want my advice, though, I'll take everything I say with a pinch of salt.
Alright, but did you in fact go into the room where the victim was killed on the day in question, didn't you?
Oh, please, as if I would. I can't think of anything more terrifying.
The truth, please.
All right, just a bit then. I mean, a girl my age is curious about stuff, you know.
So you want to do anal? Sorry. That's the first thing that came to mind when I... Did you touch anything at the scene, then?
Oh, please, as if I would. I mean, there was a dead body on the floor.
The truth, please.
All right, just a little bit then. I had a look to see if there was anything I could sell. Flooded the place over, but there was nothing to write home about.
Right. Now, I hesitate to ask, but... You didn't move the notice board by any chance, did you?
Oh, please, as if I would touch anything like that. Just a few bits of loose change and all I had.
The truth, please.
All right then. I thought there might be something worth having underneath it. So I blasted the flipping thing. Sorry, flipped the blasted thing.
You're telling us that you did move the notice board?
Oops. I think I did slip out, didn't I? That did slip out, didn't it?
What are you daft to bring pot?
I don't believe it. That girl doesn't think. So, did you find anything then? Something that you might have taken, perhaps, to sell?
Oh, please, I should be so lucky. It's my imagination.
The truth, now!
I might have found this old pocket watch underneath the notice board, I suppose. Just a bit of junk that can't be worth much, if you ask me. Ah! So it was you, wasn't it? You're the one who took it!
Gina?
Good young lady, may I remind you where you are?
That watch over there, that was a present to Inspector Gregson from the yard for a big case he solved 10 years ago. The professor's case, no doubt. The boss used to wind it up every evening without fail when he was waiting for Grub to come at the pub.
I see.
I swiped it off him once, and blimey was he upset. He gave me a right earful. Said he ain't missed a day in the past 10 years, polishing it and winding it. I mean, it meant the world to him he did that watch.
Possibly not the best thing to go diving for, then.
Not at all, though. It's not all, though. I took it to Jasper's the night to ask how much it was worth, and the old dealer wouldn't touch it. Wouldn't give me a penny for it. Said it wasn't working. Knocked about the worthless, he called it. Ah! I knew I shouldn't have lifted it. I should have.
That watch must be submitted as evidence at once.
Oh, please, just so long as you promise to give it back once you're done.
It's not even yours!
Not a chance. I'll swipe it from you if you try to get your grubby mitts on it again. That's enough. Hand the watch to the bailiff forthwith.
Now, children. What's your manners? So, she's admitted to perjury and also theft of a crime scene. I don't understand what this woman is doing.
Good lord! The glass tube appears to be broken. Sorry.
More than likely it shattered when the inspector was shot.
It doesn't tick anymore either. Which is why Jabez didn't want it. What a waste, eh? Yes, indeed. It appears to have stopped at the hour of 5.
Exactly when the gunshot was heard, then.
Which supports the prosecution's claim, of course.
Mm-hmm. The glass over the face is really badly cracked. Look.
What a shame that the inspector clearly looked after it so carefully.
I imagine Mr. Sholmes could repair it. Don't you?
Yes, I should think so.
He's very adept at things like this. A useful man to have around, in fact.
But can you remember that he's a great detective, Miss Naruhodo, not an odd job man.
There's a tiny little stub sticking out the top hole here, look.
I suppose that must have been a little knob or something on there. That's for setting the time.
In that case, seeing as we know the inspector took such great care of this watch, it probably broke when the incident occurred, didn't it?
Yes, of course.
Which could mean that there's a small part of the watch still at the scene, maybe. Oh. Ah, there's a tiny little keyhole there. See?
Oh yes, it's probably a winder used to wind up the mechanism.
It looks a little unusual, don't you think?
Ah yes, you just need the right gear to wind it, I imagine.
And we got that. Why do I feel as though I've seen something? Something like a bit like the key, but the right size for the hole.
It would be wonderful if we had the key. Let's check carefully over what we've already found.
So is it telling me to re-look at it? Okay. Uh-huh. Mr. Sato, do you think perhaps this key could be the key for Inspector Gregson's watch?
Oh, yes, it could be. Let's try it at once. Not a moment to lose.
I knew it. A perfect fit.
And look! The inspector's watch has started going again.
Ah, so it's obviously not just been wound up. That's all. What is it, Miss Usato?
Well, if the watch isn't actually broken after all, I have a feeling it's got profound implications.
She's deep in thought now. Perhaps it'd be better start thinking deeply too. Interesting. The moving notice board has been predicted precise. As predicted, it had very little bearing on the case.
Now then, continue with the cross-examination, please, witness, counsel.
I don't know anything about anything. Bystander at the road, me.
But you did see what had happened in the room, didn't you?
Fresno Street is my whole world. I has it all. It's all I know. And all I know. And I know it all. I have to make my business know well, if I want to hold up my sign up high.
So you did see what had happened.
No, not the destination is what's important. It's how you get there, is it?
Did you notice the notice board in that room?
If you think about it, we're both sides of the same species, aren't we? Both different members of the sign family. So if I'd been spotted, I might have tried to chip it up out of the sense of rivalry, I admit.
Someone really needs to tell you that you're Homo sapiens, not Homo science. Homophobe. Yeah, homophobes. Do you mean that you didn't notice the board?
I can only repeat what I've said before. I don't know anything about anything. I'm just a bystander, me. Just a sign at the crossroads of life.
In which case, just who is responsible for moving the notice board?
It's the Reaper. What exactly do you mean by that?
Oh, come on now. You don't tell us that you don't notice that he hates everything in the world, that fella. But not notice boards. It's the only thing he likes. That's why you can see in his eyes.
I can't say I've ever noticed.
I can tell you one thing for free, though. I never took my eyes off that man on the floor, off the Reaper, not for a second.
Sorry?
Well, I was a bit scared. I couldn't. And even though... you never know what a fiend like that might do if you look away, don't you?
If you didn't take your eyes off the defendant, you shouldn't be able to confirm categorically whether or not he was the one who moved the notice board. You'd be able to confirm it.
Aye, that I can. The Reaper did nothing of the sort. I can swear to that. I couldn't have missed it if he had heavied up the thing upright again and dragged it into the corner.
Right. Glad we cleared that up. What happened to the face of that screams bored? I feel your pain, Kazuma. It was 5 o'clock in the afternoon that you all heard the bang, wasn't it?
Maybe the notice board fell over. Or maybe it didn't. Maybe I fell over. Maybe I didn't. But the Reaper's fate is sealed anyway. Because of the gunshot we all heard. So your fate is sealed too.
My fate? That's right. The defense's fate is fated to lose. He. And the prosecution to win. In other words, it all hinges on that single gunshot. So what if I find some problem with that part of the testimony?
It may be possible to change all of it. Of course, none of it changes the fact that I heard what I heard, does it?
Not so much to go on. Pointed out, Naruhodo. There's no question the notice board was moved and someone must have moved it. Yes, but what happened after the event? So maybe Kazuma is right, and it's not relevant to the case. But it seems to have deliberately positioned so to hide the body from view. So I'm sure that there's something deeper significant for all this. Yes, I know what you mean. No doubt there's more clues to be uncovered. You're on the right track, I feel it. All your instincts. Okay. Peek into the room. Maybe this one, when we died... Detective still died when we had the gunshot. Could I just say that the gunshot was actually... Could have been a firecracker? No. Sometimes you gotta try and categorically understand what evidence is going to be presented to what kind of thing, because in testimonies, or is it going to be presented as like further evidence? Like, what evidence could you use to explain this conundrum?
Objection.
Okay, this feels a little more of a jump as well. I'm afraid that's not necessarily the case. Oh! At the scene, we found this key of to the winder of the inspector's pocket watch. A key. And having wound in the pocket watch, we've discovered that it in fact still works. You see, the watch didn't stop because it was broken at all. And that fact completely undermines one of the most fundamental premises on which this entire case has been built. What? I don't actually know how it does, but okay.
Order! 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 But the council, the watch has stopped almost exactly 5 o'clock. Yeah, which is why, just when we heard the gunshot.
It is.
It is. Exactly at the hour.
The time was showing on the watch tells us nothing other than when it wound down. It was merely coincidence that it happened to be at 5 o'clock.
Objection.
I mean, if they added a testimony saying that clock that you found, it stopped at 5 o'clock, that means that he must have died then. Add a testimony like that. Have that be the thing that you're supposed to contradict. Why, by all accounts, do we have to like use a testimony that has no relevance to that? It says he dies at 5 o'clock, but he didn't say he died at 5 o'clock because the watch says so. It's so vague and weird. I know that I'm getting it. I'm actually uncovering it. I'm not like looking up a guide like I did last time, because last time it was worse. But even then, it's these little things, right? These little things that are pissing me off. Or peeing me off. Even if that's true, the 3 witnesses here heard the gunshots at 5 o'clock. So that's obviously when the crime scene of the crime was committed. No, that doesn't hold. Why not? Recall what the Inspector Lestrade said only a moment ago. The boss used to wind up every evening without fail, and when he was waiting for his grub to come to the pub, said he hadn't missed a day when it in the last 10 years, polishing it and winding it. It meant the world to him, that watch did. Fuck you! The victim was in a habit of winding his watch once a day in the evening. We can reasonably assume, therefore, that he wound the timepiece on the evening just before he died as well.
Yes, that would be entirely reasonable.
But if that was the case, wouldn't he have expected the watch to have completely wound down by 5 o'clock the following day?
Oh, aye! How do you explain that then?
In summary, the events the evening before the day of the incident, when the gunshot rang out in the room, the inspector was already unable to wind his watch.
You can't mean...
What would stop a man winding his watch if he'd been in the habit of winding it for every single evening for 10 years? The obvious answer is that he was already dead.
Order! Order! Council, this isn't the most extraordinary claim.
I mean, does the autopsy report actually state that? Time of death? No, it doesn't. I thought we had this whole thing about the thing rigor mortis Oh, couldn't that have been used already?
Council, this is a most extraordinary claim.
Extraordinary isn't the word, it's absurd. You claim that he was already dead the night before? Do you really think Scotland Yard's coroner would have overlooked something like that? I don't know, coroners have been lying thus far.
Oh, well... Oh, that subject
Yo,
is...
I'm watching from class right now, LUL.
Oh, hey Marco. Yeah, we're dealing with some fucking courtroom shenanigans. There's no jury this time, so it's actually a lot easier to voice without having to go through like multiple voices at a time.
On that subject, there's something rather surprising. There's actually an omission in the coroner's report. The time of death is not noted. That's right.
Wait a minute. You're forgetting the legs from under me when I kicked the door in.
What do you mean?
Kazuma. Who is that motherfucker?
It's honestly kind of a big spoiler in a way because he's essentially a character you think is dead for a long time. Shows up in this first game and disappears very early on, and now he's just reappeared. So it's kind of a big spoiler that he's here. Sorry, Marka.
Okay, I'll just stay quiet.
Why is chat not appearing on the screen? Hold on a moment. Middle
I
ground.
see there is a Mr. Shaky Hands LUL.
His name is actually called Bepper. He's from the first game as well, but for some reason he's called Sandwich.
Teacher made eye contact, but me and him chill, so he don't care.
Ah, cool. Anyway. There we go.
Like I said, I planted my hand on the great but dirty puddle of blood.
Yes, so the victim's blood hadn't dried. It was fresh.
He catches on fast, doesn't he?
But the blood couldn't have been... could be explained in many number of ways. It could have been put there afterwards.
This is also during a test.
Oh. Jesus. Getting away with some interesting stuff then. I don't think I could ever get away with that when I was in school. Some fresh blood could have been poured over the victim's body after he... Objection! Does my learned friend think that the fresh blood is available on every street corner? Did you really just say
I got
learned
done
friend?
early, so I got my phone out.
Oh. Okay. Smart boy of you, Miss Little Catman.
Ah! Well, it needn't necessarily be human blood of a sort, of course. We've been told previously that Scotland Yard has no way to identify blood as human. The problem is currently being researched. At present, you are correct. It is beyond our abilities.
So then, a chicken's blood could have been used, for example.
I'm not smart. I am rank 2 academics LUL.
I don't think we even used ranking in our schools. It was more just like passes, merits, and distinctions. Typically, you'd have to get at least passes in order to say that you have a GCSE. Merit is like a grade up from a pass, and a distinction is like essentially almost perfection. With distinction plus being absolute perfection.
I meant it as like Persona, not like this.
Oh, I'm just like reminding myself.
I'm average.
You're average. I I think I'm average, although unlike Persona, I think I lose academics every day. I get worse and worse.
It's certainly possible that it wasn't the inspector's blood at all.
Oh, God.
Objection!
Don't we all?
But the gunshot was heard at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. That's beyond question. Is it, though? What? Given that the time of death of the victim has already been called into question, is it beyond the realms of possibility that these witnesses heard wasn't a gunshot at all?
Oh, please. What are you trying to say?
Us lot know what we heard, and was the loud bang that came from that room there.
Now you listen to me. That street seller's ears is a livelihood.
I don't doubt your ears, sir, but you can state with certainty that you heard a noise.
Eh? Explain yourself then, Counsel.
Noise that sounded like a gunshot could have been made with fireworks. Something like this. A culprit could have set off one of these to fake a gunshot.
Good gracious, the very fireworks that was sold by the witness.
Now hold on a minute. What? Are you saying I did it?
This, honestly, she's also...
Turned in the test, teacher graded it instantly and I got a 5. Here 5 is the best grade and 1 is the worst.
Oh. Well, congrats, dude. You're doing superbly well. Also, this woman here, she's very much taken a very high standing in the waifu tier list, because she essentially lights matches off her ass. And it's weirdly, really interesting to see.
She looks cute.
She is very cute.
Now hold on a minute. Are you saying I did it? My pretty little firecrackers made a little pop anyway, see?
Not 100 of them together. The Venus Special that you sell for 600 pennies sounds like this. Bang! As the court can now attest, it sounds very much like a gunshot, in fact.
She can light matchsticks off her what?
Yep, she's been, like, essentially striking the match off her ass. Weirdly enough, it's, like, it's interesting and I like it. I don't know what to say. She's not, like, doing, like, anything to the matchstick besides just striking it. Are you trying to suggest that someone set one of those fireworks off of the scene? I'm suggesting that someone knew the defendant was in
My
the room
type of
at
woman,
5
cool
that
cat.
day, and sought to implicate him by creating a sound that like a gunshot from these peddlers on Fresno Street to hear. But even the accused himself testified that he saw no one else in that room at the time. Whether it was a gun or a firecracker, that the only person present to have caused the bang was Baron Van Zeeks.
Oh, I also found a girl version of me IRL.
Well, a girl that essentially transforms into a cat and wants to be petted. You find a lot of those on the internet, trust me. But also possibly someone who's dealing with heady stuff. Mental stuff, basically.
One whiff of a match and my firecrackers go pop, see? It's why people like them.
I fear for your fingers, young lady.
Apparently, during my time in Britain, I've learned some very useful I've learned of a very useful invention indeed. Something called a time
Not the
bomb?
cat part, but same personality and all that.
Ah.
Good heavens, a bomb?
Yes, a device that allows you to blow up wherever you'd like, whenever you'd like.
Naruhodo, I worry that your unfortunate phrasing there may lead to yet another international incident.
No, wait. It's whenever you like part is not important. A timed
She's
device.
3 years older than me, though.
Doesn't matter. Age, well, 3 years. It is a bit of a concern if they're like an adult woman and you're still technically a minor, then it's not great. It's that good if she pursues you. I'll say that much. Yes, exactly, a timed device. Something of that nature could have been planted at the scene. A device that was able to produce the sound of a gunshot, long after the culprit had left.
Your extravagant
She
claim
an adult by age
will
now
be-
and I'm a minor.
Yeah, so I wouldn't pursue it as a romantic thing, but I'd definitely say friends could work out.
Your extravagant claim will have to be substantiated with evidence, Counsel. What proof do you have that suggests that in any way that there was a time device that was employed at the sound of the
She cute,
gunshot?
though, grinning face with sweat.
Oh, I'm sure. There's Gregson. Oh. Is there any evidence of a time bomb here? Was it the candle? Huh. This is actually a bit more difficult for me to ascertain. Evidence to suggest in any way that a time device was employed to create a gunshot sound. Well, the only thing I can really think of is possibly the candle somehow being connected. Maybe the bomb was in between these two candles. It blew them up and then left that one scorched. Yeah. I mean, there's nothing here that suggests that there's a blown up part of this room. Nothing on the floors or anything, so that's not exactly something expected to look at. Nothing here either. So I'm gonna guess the candelabra. Since I already had like a problem with the fact that there's a gunpowder burn on the body and the candle thing, meaning that there must have been two gunpowder explosions. As the court has already discussed, the tip of one of these candles in this candelabrum have been blown off.
Indeed, because it was struck by a bullet, in which case presumably it passed through the victim.
I don't think that's possible, my lord. Not possible? Why? Because of the scorching. I seriously could have presented this a long time ago because I knew about this, but obviously no, I guess not. There are gunpowder scorch marks clearly visible on the broken candle.
There are? Goodness, yes! But is it not the case that there was also scorchings on the victim around the bullet entry wound?
That's right, there was, but as we've heard earlier, scorching like that only occurs when the target is at very close range, a matter of centimeters from the gun.
Ah!
Which means the scorching of the candle can't possibly be as a result of the gunshot. You're suggesting that it came from the fireworks.
How can
Wait,
it be?
a scammer is texting me. Let me just send them their ID and bank.
It's honestly kind of annoying with scammers. Like, you'll get one scam that comes at you, and if you even remotely respond to them, they will essentially give your information to all the other scammers they can. And then you'll just be engrossed with scam after scam caller. Or not just callers, but emailers, virus scammers, all of the like. I mean, it does feel racist, but if I ever hear someone with an extremely thick Indian accent talking to me about reviews or a problem that's happening,
Okay.
I instantly
said
get
they'll
like that
leave me
feeling. I mean, as long as you make it clear that you're not falling for whatever they're giving, yeah. They're just like, I'd rather not have to deal with you. Scammers typically look for like older people who aren't very tech savvy, who will essentially believe that the person on the other side isn't like a horrible monster.
How can it be?
The Indian that actually works at Microsoft. They keep hanging up on me.
Exactly. The fact that there's such visible scorching on the candle suggests that the fireworks must have been right next to it when they exploded. Or, put in another way, the candle and the firecrackers were joined together. Oh, okay. I kind of wish that there was some, like, residual rope on the ground that we could have picked up and then came to this conclusion ourselves. Because this is clever, but I feel like I could have come to understanding that that's what happened on my own, you know? The culprit somehow attached the firecrackers at some point halfway down the candle. After the killer had left the scene, the candle slowly burned along with the other two, until eventually it ignited the fuse that used the firecrackers, emitting a loud bang. That's how these three witnesses came to believe that they heard a gunshot at 5 o'clock.
Yeah. Well, what a plot. And this implies that the victim could have died earlier than we had led to believe. The previous day, even.
Sadly,
Now,
I cannot
hold your
access the Great
horses.
Ace Attorney games, for they are only available on the 3DS, and I can't get that emulated or buy it, for I am really poor and I can't find the ROM.
There are possible locations to do it. 3DS is emulatable, but I don't think it'll be emulated on phone. It's a desktop thing, I think. It is possible, although it does risk higher amounts of problems arising. I've done it before with a translation game. Like, there's certain games in Japan that never get translated over to English, and they have fan translations added to them.
Black market, okay. Thanks for the info, cool cat.
But yeah, there are some things that I've done in order to play certain games, like emulation. And typically when a game doesn't get translated, I feel like the only way to play it is emulation, because going through the legal route is so fucking tenuous and difficult. You have to buy the game, then you have to buy all the software in order to and essentially import the patch over onto it, which might or might not work, depending on how if the game gets updated in any way. Hey. And you're entirely judging, putting everything on the basis of whether or not the fan translator is actually good at translating, or is going to like impose their own, like, weird stuff onto it. Because that's happened before. Great Ace Attorney itself had a fan translation as well, because for a long time it never got translated over to English or came over here. Which means
the host of this channel, serving you the freshest content, NightlyKnight.
Anyway, let's get a move on then.
Now, hold your horses. Oh, you lot here saw the victim going into the building, remember?
I couldn't forget the flame-colored hair, even if I wanted to.
The person you saw entering the building wasn't the victim at all. Consider this.
The trusted members of this channel, keeping our community safe, Random Marco.
Yes, correct. Obviously, anyone can wear a wig. The person that these witnesses saw entering the building 15 minutes later, before the incident occurred, could easily have been someone else entirely, wearing this red hairpiece.
Someone else? Do you mean to say?
It was the same person who conceived the firecracker trick. In other words, Inspector Gregson's killer.
I'm still sad about Gregson.
Yeah, I am too. He was genuinely the
Poor
quintessential British person. Fish and chips in his hands, constantly in this like half depressed, half acceptance of depression kind of mood. Oh yeah. Always kind of pissed off at something, but never really showing it until he gets pushed. Oh, very impressive, Ryunosuke Naruhodo. Kazuma? I'm really quite amazed you've come this far. But after all, wasn't I the one who told you that you had all the makings of a great defense lawyer? I also noted the lack of time of death in this report, a stark omission. But as far as I'm concerned, this whole country's justice system leaves a lot to be desired. Kazuma, maybe stop insulting an entire country?
Order! 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 Prosecutor Soggy, what on earth do you mean by that statement?
I hear many of the leading members of British judicacy are present to observe the trial today. So we cannot allow them even the slightest doubt to be overlooked. The defense's assertion about the time of death based on the victim's stopped watch is just conjecture. But, while the possibility exists that my learned friend may be correct, we have the duty to explore
The fish and chips he stole from my stand, the mustache, that hat, and his will all never be seen again. Poro sad.
Yeah.
Well, certainly I would agree with you.
Honestly, it's actually pretty good as well, because that's something that could have been really easily spoiled for me. Because I do my best when I'm getting like official pictures and artwork for these streams or for thumbnails. I always make a good effort to try and avoid looking at any kind of information, but sometimes that can happen. For example, Kazuma, I saw pictures of the masked man, and that like instantly was like, oh, okay, there's clearly more to the character. So yeah, it can happen, but yeah.
Kazuma is on coke or something, since he is very unhinged right now.
You're not wrong. And what immediately comes to mind is, of course, what was Inspector Gregson doing, and where did he go on the day before the incident? Do you know? The inspector carried out his investigative work alone. His movements were treated as confidential within Scotland Yard.
Even within the yard?
However, considering the evidence that we've been presented with so far, I'd say it's fairly apparent what case the man was pursuing, wouldn't you, my learned friend?
I do have a feeling about what the case he
I
might have
gotta
been
go to the
investigating.
bus now. Bye, Concha.
Take care, Marker. Hope you get home safe. Or wherever it is you're heading to.
Yes, I agree, surely.
My lord! The defense believes that it can explain to the court the case that was being investigated by Inspector Gregson at the time of his death.
Very well, counsel. Present your argument to the court. What evidence is suggestive of the case being investigated by the investigator in the days prior to the incident?
Probably the board, right? I mean, that is... That has to be it, right?
I can't quite say I find your answer suggestive of anything particular. Whether perhaps it's utterly wrong?
Fucking seriously? I swear to God, if the answer does say
The case 10 years ago?
I'm gonna fucking lose my mind. Or is it this? Okay. Okay. I get it. I believe this red hairpiece points to the answer. We might assume that it was part of a disguise used to carry out an undercover investigation. I'll give it that. It said the hairpiece, but I presented the newspaper and it did the same thing. Okay. We might assume that it was part of a disguise to carry out a certain undercover investigation.
Surely not. Such a brightly colored hairpiece would only serve to make the inspector more noticeable.
Yes, that's quite true. It would definitely have made him stand out in a crowd. Except, that is, in a crowd of gentlemen from the Red-Haired League.
The Red-Haired League?
So, you already worked it out. Cocky look.
What on earth are you all about? Is this all about? Is there such an extraordinary league of gentlemen?
The Red-Haired League is currently under investigation for the grand deception.
Deception of what nature, counsel?
They have been targeting red-headed men all across London and tricking them out of small sums of money. 2 men were arrested for the misdemeanor only yesterday, in fact. My lord, the defense calls for those 2 men to be summoned at the once.
2 redheads?
Oh, don't get rid of the beautiful lady. Inspector Gregson clearly infiltrated the Red-Headed League using a hairpiece. So it's very likely that he had direct contact with these criminals. And it's quite possible that such contact led to more serious events.
I concur that we cannot, in good conscience, leave this new avenue unexplored.
Well done, Mr. Naruhodo. Well, it's another possible line of inquiry for us at least.
The prosecution will make immediate arrangements for the charged men to appear. Bring those 2 red-headed league conspirators before me, Prosecutor Soggy.
Yes, whatever. At once, my lord.
Very good. We will have a 30-minute recess. Court is adjourned. Tap.
To be continued. And basically just after the 2-hour minute limit there, so... Yep, let's carry on to the second part of the trial. Yeah. 2nd of November, 12:33. The Old Bailey, defendant's antechamber.
Oh, there you are, Odo.
What kept you, my dear fellow? Hello, Mr. Sholmes, Gina.
You sure about what you said in there? That the boss, you know, actually died the day before. It's pretty hard to swallow. Yes, I was shocked by that revelation too, Gina.
As was I! Possibly more shocked than the both of you. It's not a competition, Mr. Sholmes. But I was more shocked than all of you put together. This is the autopsy report in question, is it? Yes. It's strange that there's no time of death noted. I suppose there's a simpler explanation. Or perhaps it was a deliberate omission.
Oh dear. If it was deliberate, that puts me in mind of the last case we worked on. Then Dr. Scythe.
I know. Anyway, it seems like on the day before Lord Van Zieks discovered his body, Inspector Gregson was investigating the Red-Headed League, or perhaps something happened with them. Come to think of it, you had trouble with those League men too, didn't you, Mr. Sholmes? You were taken in by their trick. No! Naturally, I wasn't taken in, as you put it. My sleuth-hounding interest was merely piqued slightly by the rare scent of a weekly £4 income. And that scent masked an underlying scent of deception, I suppose.
The two criminals in question were a pair we saw arrested yesterday, aren't they? Mr. Sholmes' Sweet, no less. That's right, Suze. And it was me what took 'em in. Thanks to the tip-off by a good and law-abiding citizen.
Indeed, yours truly.
It's going to be that pair of witnesses in the witness stand next, is it?
Something doesn't quite make sense to me, though.
The day before Inspector Gregson was found, you hadn't had any trouble with the Red-Haired League yet, had you? Why would the inspector have been investigating them?
Well, the most likely explanation would be that Gregson's own sleuth-hound interest was piqued by the rare scent of a weekly £4 income.
Don't tar him with the same brush as you, Holmes. Yes, well...
There seems to be a whole issue of Inspector Gregson being investigated by Lord Van Zieks for the same reason.
The Reaper, the Red-Headed League, Inspector Gregson, Lord Van Zieks,
and Kazuma. I feel as though he knew we'd arrived at this point somehow.
Gosh, I think you're right. Even though he made many faces in court that suggested that he wasn't ready for it.
What's he really trying to achieve here today? All the answers will be revealed soon enough. Observe with time, my dear fellow. The recesses will be over very shortly. Yes, you're right. Cosmo was determined that he should be the one to prosecute this trial. And he was determined that I should take the defense. Just what is it that he's hoping to make me see, I wonder? I get the feeling that we're a long way from the end of this trial yet. Are you ready then, Mrs. Susato?
Yes. Yas.
Second November, 1 p.m. The Old Bailey courtroom. That is what it is. I'm stood here.
In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session again. We resume the closed court of the hearing of Baron Van Zieks, present, who stands accused of murder.
Let me just turn on my light and close the window. Curtains! There we go. Got some cuts to make in this highlight, I'm sure.
Now then, Prosecutor Asogi.
My lord?
You literally roasted our entire country's judicial system and essentially Britain as a whole. I hope you know that you're going to get drawn and quartered for that, you snobby little bitch. Anyway, have you summoned the witnesses as requested?
Yes, 2 members of the Red-Headed League who plan to carry out the deception. Just so you know, guys, the voice I'm doing for Kazuma is very similar to the Edgeworth voice that I do. I haven't, obviously I haven't streamed the actual Ace Attorney, but it's the way I actually read Edgeworth is like, yes, The two members of the Red-Headed League are who planned and carried out the deception. He speaks kind of like that from my point of view. Eureka! I have come to that conclusion myself. No, do go on. But yes, I'm not making it as as pompous as Edgeware sounds. I'm kind of like turning it down from that, but still, he's basically the Edgeware of this game. Yes, the two members of the Red-Headed League who planned and carried out the deception. They've arrived not long ago from the local prison by the police carriage.
Very good. Bailiff, usher the two men into the courtroom.
My god. I already hate... Ugh. These two men are currently being held by police on suspicion of attempted extortion. You may admit your occupations, but state your names for the court.
I am Fabien de Rossiu.
Rossiu? Fabien de Rossiu. I have a feeling there's a pun there that makes it easier to pronounce the name. De Rossiu. The rest of you? De Rossiu?
A descendant of the great Rossio family from Nice and France. And my name is Pepperito Rossi. Peppino de Rossi. I am the third son of the great family of the Rossi, the landowners of Napoli.
The two men first became acquitted at the boarding school for Europeans nobility.
Those who got to from Timisk and the future leaders of Europe. But do you have any idea how boring it is to be born with the noble blood? Alors, I make it my mission to get the better of the world by employing the little grey cells of my brain. That is all I'm trying to do.
So, that's the only reason for the whole grand deception you've been carrying out?
You could say that.
No, buddy. He has a grand ideas, but he is a pretty plan. But the pretty plans. The strange combination is a great charm of the hairless brothers. Hilarious brothers. See, capo?
I'm going to smack your shit later. Listen to me, Peppino. I have two things to say to you.
See?
Are you about to tell me one of your grand antidotes? Via? Fiercely, I want you to stop calling me the capo. And secondly, we are not the largest buddies. This is a serious business.
Sibello, there it is, the capo's trump card. The furrowed brow.
It is deep, huh, capo? The furrowed brow and the meaning of your words.
The court has been led to believe that under the banner of the Red-Headed League, you have conspired to swindle money from unsuspecting members of the public. Is that true?
Oui, Sina, Setesna. Sinister.
Yeah, I'm just thinking of that word.
And what exactly is the nature of the deception by which you have planned to defraud? Hello, I will explain it. No, Capo, leave it to me. As you can see, we both have a vivid hair, no? At the school, we have been teased for this without pity. The Capo here, he was many times behind the schoolhouse crying like the Terry fountain. Well, those toys, one says the world will be respect of seared heads. Every night, he would bury his head in his pillow and cry. And weep for injustice. Sit his pen, Beppo, enough. I will explain the rest. You foolish boy. The first step was the newspaper advertisement. About 1 week before the plan was put into operation, we listed the same notice in every paper in London.
Yes, we saw that notice. It was this one, I believe, entitled To the Red-Headed League.
Oui, Sinisca. I'm honored that you have seen it.
It states that only condition for joining the league is having flaming colored hair. If you satisfy the interview panel and are admitting into the league, you could receive a weekly income of £4. On the dates specified, redheads hopefully gathered in the droves at the park specified for the advertisement. And from each person present, the pair looked at the application fee of 5 shillings.
And with the money, to France. It was a plan most elegant, no?
No, it was most dishonorable. But to be frank, I'm stunned anyone was foolish enough to be taken in by such obvious tricks.
The park was described as one of the witnesses as cloaked with red-headed folk from the cloister Orange Borough.
And the day of which all these men gathered to apply was the day before the victim was discovered. Crucially, these 2 men spoke face to face with every single person present that day.
I've spoken more redhead people in one day than I will in the rest of my life. In my life. See, and now, every time I see the Capo's hair, I feel like sick to my stomach. Anyway, what have we been summoned here today? Why have we been summoned here today?
Sorry?
The date for the trial is not until tomorrow, I was told.
Naturally, neither of these men have been told any details about this trial. They've only been shown this photograph.
Very good. So, Mr. De Russi and Mr. De Rossi. You will now give your formal testimony to the court, on the subject of which the gentleman pictured in this photograph. Of course, we will always be ready to help with the law. Bam, bam, bam.
The man in the photograph.
We have had more than 1,000 red-headed people assemble at the park on Lime Street that day. But I don't recall the man in the photograph. Capo? No, I don't remember him. Obviously, he's dead now. But I assure you, he was not in the park. Allah! The victim is nothing to do with us. You have a lot of answer for, Pepper, no? It is your fault that we got caught in the first place.
You have given sworn testimony that this man in the photograph was not present. Can you be certain?
Oui, I'm quite certain. We did not interview this man. Nobody looking like this came to the park. I can promise. It must be noted that you have been arrested for grand deception, however. Accordingly, this court has little confidence in your assurances. Oof! What's this attitude? We get nowhere, huh?
He's really sulking now. He's really a sulking now. This confidential document was obtained directly from Scotland Yard. It records every entry from the inspector's private diary dated the day before the incident. It reads, Lime Street, Red-Headed League, undercover.
Ah, I have the answer. Maybe there was another similar event in the park on the day in question, eh? That is ridiculous.
There's no question that Inspector Gregson was investigating the Red-Headed League, which means it's quite possible that when he was killed, that was when he was killed.
Very well. The defense may now proceed with the cross-examination now.
Yes, my lord. Okay, let's go. Cross-examination! The man in the photograph.
We had more than 1,000 red-headed people assembled at the park on Lime Street that day.
Oh, wait. I forgot. I'm pressing now. 1,000 people? That's a very big crowd.
It was quite a spectacle. Redheads had come around from all over the capital. See, the capo here, he had a magnificum aminale. Nobody could have attracted so many people. It could be if I could be born again, it would be the capo. Those people wanted was money, Pepperno. The £4 a week.
Are you suggesting that you spoke personally with all 1,000 applicants?
Oui, that we did. Every one of them paid us 5 shillings. We take the names and we take the money, and then we take the address as well. Then we tell them to take some days to get to know them by the post. A fino, maybe 2 minutes a person. We start early in the morning and then stop late at night.
So, you earned 5,000 shillings in one day? That's a small fortune. Who would have thought that there were 1,000 such gullible redheads in London to start with? Trust me. Without the internet, dumb people existed everywhere. The internet only allows them all to congregate in various locations now, and they're much more obviously visible. Seriously, everyone's given a voice online, right? So that means there's a lot of dumb, gullible people pushing their views on everything, everywhere, as if it matters. Who would have thought, yeah. Once, one of whom was a great detective with chemically altered hair. That is Twitter in a nutshell as well, so.
But I don't recall the man in the photograph, capisce? Comprende?
He doesn't look at all familiar.
No, I do not think so. This is the wig, eh? He's trying to trick us. I do not like people who are trying to trick the other people.
Says the con artist. If between them they interviewed 1,000 people with red hair, it would be very unreasonable to expect them to remember every face. Trying to see, how old are these two? 26 and 25. Jesus. It's very young looking for that. It's also notable that they've got... This kid's also got like a red mark. Do we still have the blipped dude who has the red mark too? He doesn't... Oh, you can't see it. It'd be unreasonable to expect them to remember every face.
No, senor. I may be small, but my memory is very large. I never forget a thing.
I don't know if I'm supposed to be seeing that red mark. It shows up in the portrait, but you can barely see it here.
In my opinion, it does not. I do not think this man was in the park.
But he doesn't. But he's not going to give the court a definitive, I think.
Hey, Capo, you didn't see the man like this, huh?
No, I do not remember him. He's obviously dead now. I assure you he's not in the park. Goddamn, I'm pressing the wrong buttons. My hands were not on was. They were below it. But according to what you said, you spoke with 1,000 or more people that day.
Oui, that is true. My eyes were burning.
Oh, I had my finger on the space by accident. God damn it. I do like how Ryunosuke seems to have a lot more confidence in the way that he's like presenting himself.
Oui, that is true. My eyes were burning at the end of the day.
Surely then you can't actually remember every single face. How can you be so certain? This particular man wasn't present. This particular man wasn't present. Fuck.
Normally, the red hair is very distinctive, yeah? But not when you have 1,000 red heads crowding around. Then it's just an eyesore. But if it was some other information you could give us, maybe then we could recall her? That is the line, not the line, Peppino. Remember, we are not remembering. We are sure of the fact, huh? If he was a man with the red hairpiece, but his mustache is not the color, then I would not think I would have forgotten him.
Kazuma said these two had been shown that photograph and they'd been told nothing else at all. What if I fed them one other detail about the victim? For example, his fish and chips, his profession. I don't think the profession is the correct one because he was an undercover agent. They wouldn't know that. What about fish and chips? I'm certainly appreciate that you knowing the man with the red hair couldn't have helped you remember the situation. What if I told you that the man was always munching on a pack of fish and chips? Do you remember the man who was eating incessantly?
Not really. I was only looking at the heads of the applicants. I wouldn't have noticed fish and chips any more than the cavalier of smoked salmon. Oh, the spaghetti. I love the spaghetti.
Really? I had no idea.
Tell them again before you, as you said before, Peppino. Si, Capo, si. I say it again.
Okay, what about name then? Let's try that again. I guess it makes sense that they were looking at the heads, not what he's doing. Let's give the name. I'm sadly appreciate you just knowing the man's red hair couldn't have helped you remember the situation. What if I told you that the man's name was Gregson?
The man's photograph is Monsieur Gregson?
Yes.
Names are boring. I did not listen to any of them.
Oh.
It's not a real interview, huh? It's just for show. Why would I remember names? That's right. It changes nothing. The man in the photograph was not there, as we have already said.
I see.
Seems little to be gained from pursuing the point further.
Okay. So, is it really saying that he's an undercover person? Or if we say that he was an undercover cop, would they say like, no, he didn't say that he was that? Alright, let's try the last one. I'm certain you can appreciate knowing the man with the red hair if you couldn't remember the situation. What if I told you that the man with the red hair piece was actually a detective?
The man in the photograph a detective?
Yes. It would appear that he found your notice in the paper suspicious and he decided to investigate incognito.
Sorry, but this changes nothing.
Oh?
Excuse me!
Shut up, other person! Something to add, Mr. De Rossi? Rosie? Rossi. No, it's Rossi.
Si? Che? Si, I'm always adding something. Parsimon, olive oil, pepper.
I mean is, did you not agree with your friend's last remark by any chance?
Eh? What did I just say about the detective?
Yes, about...
Keep your mouth shut, Peppino. You have said enough already. But why, Capo? What is the problem? There was a man who said, I am an inspector from Scotland Yard.
What?
Good lord! Order! 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 Explain this volte-faced in your testimony, witness. It's simple. A man who had at the spark.
Oh my god, I'm trying... Ah!
A man who was at the park who said to us that he was an inspector. There was no man. Madai! What are you saying, Capo? Have you forgotten? I have forgotten nothing. Nobody came to the park. Basta, Capo, basta! You beat me in many ways, but not two.
You beat me at many things. Jesus Christ, I said that really different.
But not the two. The memory and the meals. Like I said, when it's time to eat the pasta, no one is a pasta. But you are inferior to me in many other ways, so shut up! Top card. The damage is done. Indeed it is, sir. There was a man who came to the park, as he said. He is an inspector from Scotland Yard. However, he looked nothing like the man in the photograph. He was something else. Someone else.
How can you be so sure?
Because, to start with, the man, his face was completely different. See, it's two. The man who came was a younger. His face was clean-shaven, his eyes were sadder, his chin was thinner. No resemblance whatsoever, then. Anyway, I was not going to be fooled, so I took the obvious precaution and said to him, if you're really a detective, show us the proof. See, and the capo here, he said he take no nonsense, But he was well prepared. He said he had identification.
Identification? You mean official police inspector identification?
That is most unconvincing.
Sorry, my lord.
Counsel, no incognito inspector would offer identification for inspection. It's quite out of the question.
Definitely. Why would he expose his true identity?
Clearly, the papers were fake. Certo, Sir Capo, you are a genius. We say in Italia, takes a thief to recognize another, eh?
What happened after he announced that he was a detective?
He became very annoying. He said you are under investigation. So I took the papers from him and chased him out the park. It was fantastico. Look, here's the identification.
So you stole it from the man?
He had it coming. He made us all very scared. But he was not the one who he said he was.
Indeed, the person
described does not appear to have behaved as a true inspector would. However, I believe it would be prudent for these identification papers to be entered into evidence. But I like them.
Okay. Yes, let's not look at them. Let's just add them to evidence and just ignore it. Okay, let's see. Is it the dude who we were looking for this entire time? Well, I suppose we could see what the inspector's identification looks like from the inside. ID 997. Yes, it definitely looks fake, doesn't it?
Out of interest, what name is given?
Probably just something plucked out of the air. It's Tobias Gregson.
Wait, what? The Scotland Yard insignia. It looks genuine to me. But how? And the department and identification numbers details are all correct as well. Since when have you known those? Do you mean to say? I know it seems incredible, but yes. I think it's a genuine identification book issued by Scotland Yard. But that's unbelievable. This is the real thing after all?
Okay, we got it then. I feel like a lot of these could be pushed. But obviously he's dead now. I show you he was not at the park. But okay, this is probably going to be it. Since he's saying definitively he wasn't there.
Objection.
I wonder if I could ask you to examine this identification book very closely. Miss Lestrade. Why Miss Lestrade?
What is your intention here, Counsel?
Is it really fake or is it genuine? That's the question. Which we can't answer ourselves. Don't be ridiculous. No Scotland Yard detective would allow his or her identification to be stolen.
Hold it! That is the boss's. No question about it.
Oh, for fuck's sake. As I suspected. The undercover detective who attended the Red-Headed League enrollment on the day in question was the same real Inspector Gregson, carrying out an incognito investigation.
The law!
Oh, order! Order!
But if he had the boss's identification stolen, it would have reported it right away. I mean, it was always on about it with... Going on about it with... If you lose something, report it at once, he says.
Could it have been, then, that the inspector was physically unable to report it?
Physically? Eh? What are you saying?
Unable to... You're not suggesting... Yes, it's quite possible that he was killed before he had a chance to report his identification stolen. No!
Order! Order! Order!
The defense posits that the victim was killed the day before his body was discovered at a different location. Do you two have anything to say about that?
I know nothing. I know done nothing. Pull yourself together, Peppino. Mon Dieu. Can you behave a little more like a master criminal than that, non? Now I wish I had returned to Italia. So stop crying, Peppino, please. Otherwise, I... Lume, stop it with your talking.
Well, I believe this court needs to hear more, but... I believe this court...
Stop your whining and start talking. Sorry, I misread that.
But I believe this court needs to hear the story in considerably greater detail.
I know nothing. I done nothing.
But you will tell everything or face the worst possible outcome.
You will dry your eyes and testify again about these identification papers and the precise circumstances under which you came by them.
Crying out loud. Witness testimony, witness testimony, witness testimony, witness testimony. Then the detective and the identification papers.
The truth is, we took him prisoner and kept him for the night in our secret hideout. Even though I didn't think he was a real detective, I was too scared to let him go that day, just in case. We took the man's identification from him, and I shot him in the next room next to ours. There might have been a little tussle, but we did him no harm. It was the next morning we let him go. He spent the time in the night in a nice room. It was nothing like prison, really.
This is outrageous. You imprisoned the man?
But no, no, it was not like a prison. He was very comfortable, very calm, happy. Right, Capo? Capo? It was never part of my plan, I swear it. So you think it was my fault? Because I got the date of the day wrong by one little day? I do not think it was your fault, Peppino. I know it. No. Per favore. Ciao, Capo. Is it not fair?
Oh, Jesus, these two. They are pulling my freaking vocal cords here.
You shall have plenty of time for squabbling back at the prison, gentlemen. Because now you've got kidnapping on your charge.
I don't believe this. How could he have been a real detective?
Counsel for defense, proceed with the cross-examination.
So on the day before the incident, Gregson spent a night confined in this pair's hideout?
Hold it!
Do you realize what you're saying?
You have to believe me. I never intended for that to happen. And I'm sure the detective did not intend it either.
Do you think?
But there was nothing else I could do. See, nothing else. There was a first crime for the capo. He was at the end of his wits. I've told you before, Peppino, that is not the way to describe a criminal mastermind.
What about this hideout of yours?
An old empty house behind the park on Lime Street. I rented the place for 2 days. It was inspired idea by the capo here.
An impulsive idea, I would say.
No. The impulsive inspired, capo? What am I supposed to say to that, Peppino?
And it was in the house described as you confined Inspector Gregson, was it?
Oui. But you have to remember, I was under the impression that he was a pretender, not a real inspector.
That doesn't quite add up, though. If you didn't think the man was a real inspector, there would have been no reason for you to take him prisoner, would you, there?
No, you're right. But we couldn't have been completely certain. Even though I didn't think he was a real detective, I was too scared to let him go that day, just in case.
Too scared? Why?
Because why had he come to the park? We didn't know. There was a chance that he had seen through my plan. And if that was the case, he would have gone straight to the police station and blown the whistle on us. Even though it was framing us to be an inspector, he was up to no good. Without a doubt.
I think most people would agree that it was you two that were up to no good.
Well, see, you may be right, Capo? The point is, we were not able to escape from England immediately. That is why we had no choice but to take the man prisoner.
What I don't understand is, why did the inspector felt the need to show his identification in the first place?
See, I asked myself the same question. We were writing down the names and addresses of all the people who took 5 shillings from that day. I have forgotten the name he said, but the address, it startled me. CC, address Scotland Yard, Homicide Division, he said.
What?
He probably didn't like your face, Peppino. Anyway, I was not rude. I politely asked him why he said that. And that's when he started saying he was an inspector. Not long afterwards, he took out his identification.
What was the Inspector Gregson playing at? It wasn't Gregson. They already said that he didn't look like him. Tell the code what happened next. You took him back to your hideout, as you say. I mean, were they lying about that?
See, we did that. We took the man to the identification from him and shut him in the room next to ours.
Hold it!
Being this identification book here, correct?
See, that is the one.
What made you believe that it was a forgery?
I never seen the real one, of course. But he was so suspicious of this man. Allora, I was thinking it must be a falso. Capo? Oui, it is just as Peppino said. We were convinced it was not a genuine. So together, the hilarious brothers, we took the man captive. All we did was shove him inside a locked room. Then we made preparations for transport all the money.
In for a penny, in for a pound.
There might have been a little tussle, but we did not mean him any harm. The next morning we let him go.
What do you mean by a little tussle, exactly?
It's nothing, just a little minor incident. The falso inspector, he was a real piece of work, Capo?
What happened?
Oh, it was a disaster. We gave the man a nice room, and what does he do? In the middle of the night, he tries to escape through the ventilator. Did you blame him? We chased him, been sure, and we caught him again. Can you blame us?
Wait, you didn't shoot the man in your haste, did you?
Who do you think we are? Of course not! I simply caught hold of him again and put him back in the room.
Excuse me.
Mr. De Rossi, can I ask you what's wrong?
Me?
Something Mr. De Rossi just said seems to make you, well, it seemed to make you act a little more strangely than usual. What was that all about?
Cavalo, at times like this, you don't wanna have a capo after you, believe me. And I speak from a personal experience.
Personal experience?
That is enough, Peppino. There's no need to say more. The truth is, the night before we put the Red-Head League into action, I was scared. And it was not fair to the capo, but I tried to run away.
It's a shame that you didn't manage it.
But the capo here, he came right after me, like a turbine, huh? He dragged me back to the house, kicking and screaming. I still have the bruises to prove it, capo?
Bruises, you say?
Wanna see, huh? You wanna see the famous fantastical bruises? That is enough, Pepper. No, nobody wants to look at any part of you.
What to do? I show you. I don't show you. I show you. I don't show you.
You do now.
I know everyone wants to see it. Then I do it. Eyo! Echo! You see? It is a very visible, eh?
That red ring around your neck. What is it? You got that when you were dragged back to your house?
See? The capo sometimes is very rough. That is enough! Peppo! Pino, please! Pepino's neck has nothing to do with what we talked about here. You have my word. Yes. What is your opinion, Council?
About the red... it very as much as important. Other characters have had the red ring. Mr. de Rossi, I'm going to have to ask you. Can we actually see if Gregson had a red ring? We can, but that might be a red-ish line around his neck. I'm going to have to ask you to amend your testimony with details about that mark around your neck.
Aye, Capo, you see? Everyone is interested in what I have to say, huh?
Why am I stuck with this?
Very well, you amend your testimony as requested, Mr. De Rossi. See, if you wanted to know. He tried to escape, but Capo put the collar around him and dragged him back. Like what he did to me.
I mean, we can see his neck to an extent, and it doesn't look like he's got a ring around it. So, I think we found out who the fake detective inspector is. Person pretending to be Gregson is, without a doubt, the big lip dude. Because he had a red ring around his neck.
Objection!
So the day before his body was discovered, Inspector Gregson was taken prisoner while working incognito.
No, it's not like that. It was hardly a prison. It was an invitation to stay. Home. It was homely.
However you describe it, there's one glaring inconsistency that remains.
What inconsistency is this, Council?
I would ask the court to closely look at this photograph of the victim, Inspector Gregson. You will see that there's no red string around his neck, visible around his neck.
Eh? But that makes no sense. It was me who took the collarbone off the man this morning. And we saw the bruises around his neck just as I have.
Given the mark is very clearly still visible on the witness's neck, we'd expect to see bruising on the victim, no matter who was put into the collar more recently than Mr. De Rossi.
Indeed, this is most peculiar. But we tell you, we says this from the beginning many times. Pepino is right. The man is the photograph is someone completely different to the man we had captives at night. Order!
It would appear then that on that day before the incident, the man who visited the park on Line Street was posing as incognito inspector. It was not Inspector Gregson at all. If that's true, however, how do you explain the inspector's identification? This is a genuine article. The genuine identification book issued by Scotland Yard. It's inconceivable that someone would have stolen such an important item from the inspector. The prosecution has made that assertion himself. We also know that the inspector has made note of the red-haired league in his diary for that day, which surely means that we can't divorce the two events completely. The inconsistency noted by the defense is most troubling. If it were the real Inspector Gregson whom these two red-headed gentlemen encountered, the fact that no bruising can be seen around the neck defies explanation. But equally, if they were actually encountered an imposter, how did that person come to be in the possession of the inspector's identification?
Does the defense have some plausible explanation, Counsel?
The whole thing defies explanation. I already know, guys, come on.
It is for precisely these occasions that we keep meticulous notes in the court record, Mr. Naruhodo. Because those are the facts, and the facts cannot lie.
No, the facts can't lie, even when they point to something so incredible that it's almost unbelievable. Well, my lord, the true identity of the person who turned up to the park for the Red-Headed League's enrollment is revealed by information in the court record, I believe.
Good gracious!
Very tantalizing, Mr. Naruhodo. So why don't you help us all see whatever truth it is that you have apparently seen? Who exactly is the inspector appeared before Mr. DeRossi? Mr. DeRossi. I mean, it's the imposter. Though it seems incredible, I admit, it's undeniable facts that point to only one thing. Since no bruising can be seen on the victim's neck, the person who these two red-headed men took prisoner on the day could not have been Inspector Gregson. In other words, the whole argument just now has been a waste of time. No. On the contrary, I haven't finished. What? There's no bruising on the victim's neck, so the question is immediately posed the next is, who exactly was the man in the park on Line Street found to be carrying Inspector Gregson's identification?
See, that's right. We have the same story as every time. Whoever this man was, the capo dragged him from the pillar to the post with a dog collar.
Bonjour, Peppino! I was not so harsh as you say.
So it was that the false, inspector, eh? Who was he?
Clearly, the defense has an idea about that. About the true identity of the man these two imprisoned that night. The true identity of the person. I shouldn't say man, because women, right?
I must ask the counsel for the defense to elaborate post haste. Who did the witness encounter in the park posing as Inspector Gregson?
It is...
Take that!
Goodness me, isn't that...
one of the witnesses who was at the stand in this courtroom earlier today. The nameless man whose only occupation appears to be peddling hearsay to passengers buys. Is he actually gonna be this dude? Only really screwed up. I mean, it's possible. Nah, I'm still going by it's Gregson. At least a younger version of him. Actually, no, never mind. That's a bit too ridiculous, I think. The fact that his head is that. Can't see his eyebrows completely. I think the fact that he's like so differently pronounced now. I mean, his nose is way too different as well. Like, yeah. She's so fucking cute. Jesus Christ. A nameless man whose only occupation appears to be peddling hearsay to passerbys. What on earth would that street seller be doing with a police inspector's identification papers? Witnesses, is this the man or not?
What has happened to his lip? See, this is the man not for the Red-Headed League, eh? Is looking for the Twisted Lip League, no?
Perhaps rather than making such rash claim next time, you should bait your lips instead. It seems improbable, yes, but one undeniable fact remains. During his testimony earlier, I noted something around the man's neck. A red ring of bruising. What? The defense demands that Mr. Gossip be brought back to the stand.
Order! Order! Bailiff! Bring the aforementioned witness back to the courtroom. Immediately! Well, I never. An undeniable ring of bruising indeed. And identical to that of the witness beside him. Now what's going on here, eh? I've always had this me. It's my birthmark, isn't it?
A birthmark, you say? I assume the reason you've been recalled to the stand has been explained to you?
Aye, something about the inspector again. But I'm telling you, you've got it all wrong as usual.
You're denying all knowledge of it.
Well, of course I am. Are you saying, trying to kill me with that nonsense, eh?
Well, at least you have more stories to peddle back to Fresno Street, won't you? Now, we're going to need you to testify again. And you, Mr. DeRossi, and Mr. DeRossi. I'm sure you'll cooperate, won't you?
Do we have any choices? We are in a bigger trouble, eh, Capo?
This is quite enough.
Dilatory.
Dilatory chatter. Proceed with the press testimony.
Okay. I fucking hate this guy's lip. Why couldn't we have the cute girl back? Why not make her the culprit? God damn it. She's way too cute to not be used again. The inspector and the identification are revisited.
The man who claimed to be the inspector that day is clearly not this man.
Is that see?
You would think we'd forget these grand lips, hmm?
I never leave Frisco Street. Alright.
Alright,
I've no interest in the Red-Headed League.
I'm all alone in the world, me. No kingfolk and nothing. Why would I be involved with something like that? Just look at me, eh? Does it look like I'd carry off a disguise with this face like this?
It would certainly appear that we have the wrong man.
Is what I've been telling you, huh? There's no need for this pointless testimony.
That's right. I'm just a simple peddler. Remember? Fresno Street is all I know. How would I come by the police inspector's identification book, eh?
Well, yes, that's hard to explain, but...
A brief cross-examination, I think, counsel. Very brief.
Is there anyone in this courtroom who thinks I might be onto something? I stand steadfastly at your side, always, Mr. Naruhodo.
Aw. I don't. I'm von Karmering this whole thing. Inspector's identification revisited. This is not the man the inspector claimed to be inspector that day. It's clearly not this man. So you say, but how can you be quite so certain?
There's no need to hurt your hands on the desk, monsieur. Surely the reason is obvious, no? Because I have never seen this before. Seen lips like this.
Nevertheless, it's a clear red mark around Mr. Gosper's neck. And it looks very much like that left behind on the neck of your colleague by your prized collar.
Mon Dieu, with your words, it's like you're trying to wring my neck. It does look very much like my neck, so, eh?
No, this is the birthmark, lad. The biggest lips in London and the neck to die for. They broke the mold that made me.
For the first time in my life, I feel lucky to have been born with red hair.
I thought being Japanese made you stand out in London. So you maintain that you've never seen this man before?
Oui, Zinesta, sa. I swear to it like the flames on my hair. My hair.
Seriously? This is not red hair, come on. This is like red hair, not freaking ginger. Sophia's pride has outgrown the frustration on your hair now, has it? Sophia's pride has outgrown the frustration with your hair now, has it?
It's spicy. I would forget this grand lips like this, huh?
Well, yes, I don't imagine that you'd forget the lips in a hurry either.
That's what I'm saying. For some reason, it makes me want to eat, how did Fabian call it? An eclair! You know, I've never seen a hair as black as yours even before, eh?
Likewise, I've never seen red hair like yours before I came to Britain.
See? Maybe it's an a national trait, huh? Maybe all the people in the world, this man's country, have a grand lips.
No, lad, I was born here in Frisco Street. I've never left.
That's the problem, see?
So you definitely didn't go back to the park on Lime Street that day, Mr. Gossip?
Now, how many times do I have to say it? You want me to say it, eh?
I never left Frisco Street, alright? I had no interest in the Red-Haired League.
So, you've heard of the Red-Headed League before, have you?
You don't get a name like Gossip for nothing, eh? It's the name of the business known for going off a town. I sold a tasty tidbit to a fair few redheads that came past me. Just between us, I even got a sandwich to cuff up for it.
Well, he does seem to have a very big red nose, if that counts.
Who knows?
As you can see, Biona's not got a hint of red to it. And in any case, Fresno Street is my patch. You won't catch me sliding off to some other parts of town, no sir, not likely.
Excuse me.
Is that so?
Mr. DeRose, see you.
Oui? Yes, can I help you?
Did Mr. Gossip's words just now lead you to remember something relevant, perhaps?
It was the other day, when I was looking for the place near the park. A small house or something.
To be the headquarters of your Red-Headed League, yes?
I visited an housing agent on Lime Street and where I saw him. That's where I saw him. This man was paying no money to the agent.
Eh? What?
Mr. Gossip, with a housing agent?
Oui. He had some kind of contract in his hand, and they said, they were clearly discussing terms.
But no, you're mistaken, chum. I never left Sprinkler Street, yeah, like I said before. You're mistaking me for someone else. Someone with a same face.
No, the capo's right. I remember it too. He was paying the man with the banknotes.
Notes?
Like I said, that wasn't me.
I was curious why a man with dirty clothes had so much money. It looked like the same name on the papers. I looked at the names on the papers.
What was the name written, Mr. Gossip?
No, this man here lies. He tells you he has no name. But in fact, his name is Hugh Boone. Huh? It's better than Mr. Gossip, I think, I see.
No! In my particular bit of information, like I said, on Fresno Street, that is at all. That is at that. I don't know much about the folks talking about my personal life.
Indeed. And it's not the intention of the court to invade the privacy of the witness. Very well, I shall respect your wishes, sir.
The aforementioned name shall be retracted from all court records of the court in this trial, assuming no objections.
Big objection. He fucking owns the building. I'm sorry, my lord, but the defense does object. Because the name just mentioned has very deep significance to this case.
Good gracious. Do you simply object, Prosecutor Soggy? Similarly object?
As it may happens, my lord, that particular name has already been mentioned during today's proceedings.
Well, I never. In what capacity?
Hugh Boone.
It's not huge burn, is it? It's huge boon.
That's the name of the leaseholder of the room.
Let me put it this very simply. The victim's body was discovered in your rented room. I suggest, sir, that you start talking.
Well, all right. I suppose that could be the case, eh?
So your real name is Hugh Boone?
Well, it's just between us, but I don't like to blow my own trumpet. There's no finer peddler in tidbits in town. So I happen to be able to afford to grab a little room in this falling down back streets townhouse. You do? Every once in 6 months, I go and pay the rent to the agent on Lime Street. Why, I remember now. There was two vulgar redheads at the time.
Aye, it could either be... If either of us are vulgar, it's not the me. Think again, Babino.
Why didn't you bring this up before?
It's like I told you already.
I don't like talking about my personal life. I'm a tidbit peddler, and as far as everyone else is concerned, no fuss.
You will update your testimony to include the most surprising revelation, Mr. Boone.
If I must.
So the leaseholders Scotland Yard has been looking for since the body was discovered has been here under our noses all along.
I rented the room of the fellows true. What difference does it make?
Yep, you are without a doubt Mr. Vigil as well. I mean, that looks so... I was right then in assuming that you were Mr. Vigil. I'm not going to present it. Well, I guess I could present it now and just load up if it doesn't. No, not yet. I need to have a actual line of logic here. So, you live in that room presumably, don't you?
I don't live there. What do you think? There's no bed there. It's just a desk.
Then why do you want to rent it?
Well, I don't think I have to say, really.
Then how about the notice board there? Which was covered from top to bottom in confidential documents only the police should have had access to.
No, the board's not mine. The inspector must have brought it along. It's only the other bits and bobs that belong to me. The desk, the chair, and that.
People don't generally carry enormous notice boards around with them. The real question is, why was the Inspector Gregson killed there in your room?
But obviously, I've adopted the painter's idea. I mean, it's causing me no end of bother, to be honest.
It seems to me that Mr. Gossip, Mr. Boone, would rather as little is known as possible about this room as possible. Would rather as little is known about the room as possible for some reason. Yes, it does come across that way, and more importantly, knowing that the scene of the crime is actually his room changes things. In particular, there's one part of his testimony that seems to be bothering me now. That's how I'm finally gonna undo this man. No kingfolk or nothing. He said there's no kingfolk, but there's a picture of a woman If you have no kinfolk, as you put it, then explain to me why it isn't that this is among the sparse furnishings. We found this, that among... Restart, refresh brain. Okay. Then explain why it is among the sparse furnishings that we found this photograph in the room. I presume that you've been renting this room, that this photograph belongs to you, does it not?
Oh, well...
Mr. Boone, drop the pretense and tell the court exactly who you really are.
I don't know what you mean. I'm a peddler. I keep telling you so. I really don't need to bother me with... Please just leave it alone.
As the man says, leave it alone. Whatever the truth is about this man's life has no bearing on this case. Because it simply is not possible that he impersonated Inspector Gregson. But he's intricately connected with the case 10 years ago. How can you be so sure? Just look at the man. No amount of disguise could ever hide those unmissable features. I'll be honest with you, this is actually kind of clever. I actually pointed out that Mr. Vigil looks like Inspector Gregson. I was like, this isn't Gregson from when he's really young. But he was pretending to be Gregson. Those unmissable features. But what if we were to look at this from the other way around? What do you mean?
Yes, Counsel, what do you mean?
Well, there's no denying that Mr. Boone's lips is very prominent indeed. But consider the possibility that his prominent lips itself is part of the elaborate disguise. Then hiding the prominent feature, in other words, revealing his true face, would make an utterly impenetrable disguise. Jesus Christ. Wouldn't you agree, Mr. Hugh Boone? Fuck.
Witness, are you still trying to hide the truth from us in court? If that's a disguise, then underneath it, his true identity must be...
Yes, that's right. There can only be one person who it really can be. My lord, the defense believes it can reveal Mr. Boone's true identity to the court.
No. Please, no.
Very well, Counsel. What is the true identity of this peddler who's simply going by the name of Gossip on the street?
Take that!
Your real name is actually Mr. Vigil, isn't it? Mr. Daily Vigil?
I don't recall that name, Counsel. Who is Mr. Vigil?
It's the name I encountered yesterday, my lord. He has to do with a certain client of Mr. Herlock Sholmes, and a young gentlewoman came to the detective asking to locate her missing husband. The woman in this photograph, in fact, this is Miss Vigil. What? From what I understand, you haven't returned home since the night before the inspector was found dead. But of course, on that night, you were being held captive by the two red-headed league men. And that last night you were put up by the prosecution service in preparation for testifying for this trial. Because we've been led to believe that you, Miss Venus, and Mr. Sandwich were all homeless. Being important witnesses in this case, we needed to know where we could find you, of course. That explains why you've not only been unable to return home, but unable to contact your wife, who's been beside herself with worry, waiting for you at the Vigil residence.
Now, just hold on a minute. I don't have the first.
I'm talking about? Really? It's a simple enough matter to confirm my suspicions. All we have to do is pull off that disguise.
No, please.
Bailiff, bring soap, sponge, and a washcloth bowl at once. Mr. De Rossi, you will restrain the witness.
What? Excuse me?
Oui, my lord.
See, my lord.
Fucking, they cannot do this.
No! Stop!
You cannot use other suspects to restrain one person.
Well, we are now seeing your true features, I presume.
I changed my clothes too. Lift your head, sir, so the court may see your face.
It would appear that the defense's counsel's assertion was entirely correct. This has all been a very elaborate deception. So, witness, tell the court, have you seen this man before, witnesses?
I don't believe it, but
See, this is not question. This is a no question. This is the inspector we saw in the park.
Extraordinary!
On the day in question of the Red-Headed League's enrollment, the man claiming to be Inspector Gregson who appeared before Mr. De Rusio and Mr. De Rossi at the park was you, disguised as the inspector, or rather, was you posing as the inspector in disguise at all. Mr. Vigil was formerly employed as the chief warder at Barley Prison.
The chief warder? Then your career had promise. Why would you quite possibly have become a future governor of the prison? Why, you could have been the future governor. Why on earth have you been peddling tittle-tattle on Fresco Street?
Well, it's been 10 years since Mr. Vigil worked at the prison. 10 years. I'm dreadfully sorry about all of this. Yes, it's true. I am Daily Vigil. And you were the chief warder at Barley Prison 10 years ago. So where did Mr. Hugh Boone come from? Boone is the other me. It is a name I invented.
Well, evidently there's a great deal under the surface here.
I'll explain everything. I'll tell you just how wretched my life has become. Okay. As you say, it was 10 years ago now that my employment at Barclay's chief warder came to an end. Having left the prison service, I searched for some new occupation by which to earn a wage. But times were hard in London, and I found no suitable engagements at all. In desperation one day, I turned my hand at selling wares on Fresno Street. But your wife appears to have known nothing about this. She still maintains that you're chief warder at Barclay Prison. It was utterly undermined. I was utterly undermined by my wife, determined that my wife should not know of my failings, which is why I never told her. I opened an account at the bank under the name of Hugh Boone, and I rented the cheapest room I could find on Fresno Street. The scene of the very crime we're investigating. Yes, that's right. A place from where I could emerge every morning at 8 as a squalor peddler. and transform myself back every evening at 5 into the well-dressed man about town before returning home quickly became my daily routine. I was puzzled by the lack of furniture in the room, but that explains it. But why on earth didn't you just tell us that from the first place? I have a wife, sir, and 2 sons. And without wishing to sound self-conceited, they regard me with some pride. I couldn't bring myself to disappoint them. So instead you decided to conceal your occupation from them? Yes. I've made such a terrible mess of everything. Still, one thing does not add up. No matter how many tidbits of information you could sell to passing gentlemen, even at 6 pence apiece, you couldn't hope to match the salary you must have commanded as chief warder at the prison.
Very true. To have kept your family in comfort despite 10 years of somewhat misbegotten employment.
That was all thanks to the Inspector Gregson.
What?
Inspector Gregson? What on earth? It was some years after I invented Boone that begun my other life as a street seller. He, the inspector that is, recognized me one day.
Do you mean to say the victim was an acquaintance of yours?
Wouldn't it be really funny if that's actually McGilded and the Swan Lady? God, that would be freaking insane. I knew him from my time working in the prison. It'd be actually cool if all these silhouettes were actual characters that we knew at some point. When he saw what I'd become, he was deeply troubled for me and my family. From that day forward, he visited me on Fresno Street with increasing regularity. Then, one day, he asked if I could carry out a secret assignment for him.
A secret... What was it?
I was to impersonate the inspector.
What? Impersonate him?
We always met in that little room so the inspector could brief me.
Visit Orsi's tomorrow and take a statement from the proprietress.
It's always something along those lines. Surveillance work, interviewing people. On those occasions, he would lend me his identification so people would believe who I was. My instructions were to make an impression, to let people know that Inspector Gregson had been at work. And for those services, he compensated me financially.
A Scotland Yard inspector willingly relinquished his identification into your care with the intent to deceive? I'm sure there's no need to point out that is a very serious criminal offense.
But why? What would be the point of you impersonating him? I truthfully do not know. All I can say is that the inspector warned me on numerous occasions.
Now remember, Vigil, I need your solemn word that don't blab about this to anyone, alright? Ever.
Even if I end up in the crocker. In time, I started to bring papers with him he started bringing papers with him to the room as well. It became something of a second office for him. So, in fact, a person who declared himself to be Inspector Gregson at the park on Lime Street was really... Yes, It was me, acting on the inspector's orders. As usual, I removed my boon disguise, and I went as instructed to the park, armed with the inspector's identification book. It only occurred to me that the bruise on my neck might give me away. That's a lot of flashbangs, aren't there? Well, it would seem that this confession completely destroys the defense's case. How the fuck do you come to that conclusion?
Explain yourself, Prosecutor Soggy.
My learned friend's assertion was as follows. The victim was killed at another location on the day before the corpse was discovered, at the hands of these two red-headed league men when they imprisoned the inspector. But no, that can't be. After all, it was the inspector who went to the park that day. It wasn't the inspector that went to the park that day, it was me.
Oh, goodness. Finally, we have clarity. We had nothing to do with the murders of the inspector. And merci, Monsieur de la Défense, for proving it.
What? Confidence completely leaves you when you need to react like that.
Order! 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 Indeed, it would appear that we have reached the de facto conclusion of sorts. These witnesses have no involvement in the murder of the victim. As proven somewhat ironically by the defense.
I'm a little piss baby. I can't figure anything out.
I hereby call the end of the cross-examination.
Hold it!
Thank you for all the flashbangs. Now, pardon me, my lord, but with your permission, I would like to pose one further question to the witness. Kazuma?
Well, what's the question, Counsel?
It concerns the events of 10 years ago. I believe you would have been present at the very significant execution that was carried out at the time. 10 years ago? The execution of the professor. Genshin Asagi? I want to know exactly what was your involvement was.
Oh.
Answer me, man.
One moment, Counsel. Is this related to the current case?
No, not really. Naturally. It is the prosecution's belief that this case and the events 10 years ago have an inextricably linked.
Does the defense occur, Counsel?
Kazuma, you're not yourself. You're not calm as collected as usual.
Poor Kazuma-sama. No wonder he's acting that way. Mr. Vigil's memories of what happened 10 years ago would tell of the tale of Genshin Asagi's last moments. So, Father...
I know. I do understand that, but even so... Because... Prosecutor Asagi, do you genuinely believe that this question requires an answer in order to learn the truth behind Inspector Gregson's death? I need you to trust me, please. Very well, then the defense has no objections.
I see. In that case, you will answer the question, witness.
The truth is, I remember very little of that time.
You've forgotten?
I'm sorry to say, yes. As I said, I resigned from my role in the prison 10 years ago. But for some particular reason, my memory of the events leading up to that moment
is extremely hazy.
Does that not strike you as strange, Mr. Naruhodo?
Sorry?
Well, 10 years is a long time. But to have forgotten the reason why he left such an important job.
Yes, you're right. And not only that, Mr. Vigil's claim contradicts what we already know. The human spirit is a fragile thing. It's broken all too easily, which is why we have a tendency to wrap it up for protection.
I'm sorry, the human spirit? I'm afraid I don't understand what you mean.
We experience pain and suffering that we are unable to bear when we feel unable to bear. We block it out, obliterate it from our memories, and seal it away. But it never truly leaves us. If the seal is broken, the memories resurface. And when they do, that fragile spirit may finally be crushed.
But I really don't... Kazuma-sama.
But it must be crushed, then so be it. Because the truth will not stay buried. It is coming out one way or another. Right. Now I understand. It's clear what his intentions are. He means to expose the truth at any cost. Perhaps I pointed out the contradiction in what Mr. Vigil claimed earlier. It might cause some crucial memories to return to him, but should I? Should I present the evidence or not?
Whatever.
I mean, it's obvious that I'm supposed to. Alright. So, let us go and be off with you.
I do it greatly.
I have no idea how this is going to go, but this is a court of law, and I have a duty to pursue the truth. Mr. Vigil, I'd like you to look at this. I do like the addition of the very strong imposed arms on hips kind of pose. It very much exudes confidence, and I like that. I'd like you to look at this. Evidence that really clearly contradicts your version of events. Is it this?
Take that!
A few months ago, you made the following statement. A few moments ago. I resigned from my role at the prison 10 years ago.
Well, yes.
In other words, you claim to have left the post of Chief Warder on your own volition.
Well, yes, of course. Why?
Tell me. Do you remember seeing this document before?
No, I don't.
This is a dismissal notice ordering the immediate termination of a police staff member's employment. A dismissal notice? And the name on the notice is yours, Mr. Vigil.
What? It's mine?
So you didn't resign from the prison service at all? For some reason, you were dismissed as Chief Warder from Barley.
No, there must be some mistake. I'm sure I tendered the resignation. A dismissal notice is nonsense. Isn't it?
If you were forcibly dismissed, there must have been a good reason. Clearly, you did something. Mr. Vigil, it's time to break the seal and have you remember. According to the few remaining reports, a final execution that you supervised on 17th of June, 10 years ago. And on that day, something very serious took place at Barclay Prison.
The 17th of June.
Was that the professor's execution?
Sir.
As you were the chief warder at the time, it stands to reason that you would have been present throughout the proceedings.
It does sound familiar.
And yet, the execution never took place. The convict, ostensibly executed earlier that day, later re-emerged from his grave.
The convict came back to life.
It's the cemetery. In the cemetery, in the middle of the night, there was a witness.
However, the witness claims that the moment he saw the convict clambering out of the grave, a gunshot rang out from over his shoulder, and the bullet pierced the professor's chest, killing him instantly. Those may have been the professor's last actual moments.
Yes. Yes!
Seeing as you were in charge of overseeing executions at the time, you must have known the truth about what really happened. It's in your head, somewhere deep down. Well, Chief Warder Daily Vigil, I know that there are memories in your head that can explain what happened on 17th of June 10 years ago. And now it's time for you to drag them up.
Ah!
Mr. Vigil?
Yes. The whole prison. It was complete chaos. The prisoners escaped. He was killed in the cemetery. The shocking news rippled through Barclay like a hurricane. What?
Order! 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 Do you mean to say, Mr. Vigil, that your memories of the time has returned?
My head. It's like some floodgates have opened. The images, the screams.
Oh my goodness.
The papers. There were reports, articles about a man who'd seen a ghost.
Yes. Enoch Drebber.
But surely those reports were exaggerated.
There were traces at the scene.
Traces of what?
At Lowgate's Cemetery. At plot number 139. Blood. Lots of blood. That's where the man was buried, of course. Obviously, something terrible had happened there.
The depths of conspiracy, the depravity of which this tale is emerging is quite staggering.
I've reviewed the police reports from that time extensively. A thorough investigation was conducted by Scotland Yard to ascertain how the convict managed to escape in the first place. And the conclusion reached by the investigating team was that the member of the prison staff must have been involved.
Are you suggesting that the prison warder abetted the man's bid for freedom?
Yes. I was suspected of doing it. Of using the mass murderer's execution as a way to help him escape.
You did what?
I remember now. The horror of it all is coming back to me. On the evening, a few days after the execution of some detectives came to the prison. I was called to the governor's office at the top of the watchtower.
I'm sorry, Daly, but this serious business, I cannot help you, no. The Chief Warder. As Chief Warder, you were responsible for overseeing the execution of 4, eh? Well, it seems the fellas at Scotland Yard have a few wee words with you about it. You'd better pack your things, laddie. You're to attend him in prison. To attend in prison.
As soon as he told me that, my mind went completely blank. And the next thing I do, the Professor, the most hated killer in the country's history. And I let him escape. I'm finished. My life is over.
Order! Order! Bailiff, fetch the doctor at once! Court is adjourned for today with immediate effect!
My God.
So, with Mr. Vigil's collapse, proceedings came to an abrupt end for the day. Once again overshadowed by the legacy of that notorious killer, appearing like a cursed ghost ship on a foggy ocean. Lord Van Zeeks, Mr. Vigil, Kazuma, and Gregson. All of them bound by invisible chains anchored to the same wreckage in the murky depths of the past. But the miraculous light that had been trying to cut through the gloom and shine on those tragic events was playing on the edges of the truth at last.
Well. I don't even know how this is going to continue. Holy crap. Okay, so. That'll be it for today. We'll go ahead and see where we are in Sherlock's suite. Can't quite believe what just happened. Yep, so let's turn to the title, save. It was pretty crazy that entire time. Holy crap. Anyway, let's go back to title. It's very intricate, and I like how many moving pieces there are. And it's clear that this entire... We got, like, this is case 4. We got 5 after this. Meaning, after we solve Gregson's death, it's probably going to be about solving the past case as well of the professor. That's what I'm guessing it's going to be. But holy crap, is this just getting more and more intense as we go. Are we to assume that he just, like, as soon as he, like, heard that he was being fired and blamed for the entire thing, he essentially just threw himself out the window to try and just end his own life, to be like, I'm not, nope. Holy crap. Well, all I can say is I'm very invested. I can't wait for next time. It'll be on Saturday. Thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for getting this far. Thanks for tuning in. We'll find out what happens next time. Bye-bye.